The Hokage of Konoha will always be a Senju. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, Thousand Hands Rope Tree. You should practice Q&A well this afternoon. I know, sister. In a room that was not luxurious, a man and a woman knelt on the tatami facing each other, and there were 2 bowls of fragrant ramen on the small table between them. I'm going to eat. The older girl picked up her chopsticks, but the younger brother looked at his sister, who was eating in a cruel way with helplessness. Sister, are you going to carry out the mission tomorrow? Yeah, I heard that it's to the border. The sister quickly finished the ramen in front of her. Don't worry, this time I'm with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Nothing will happen. HMM. The boy started eating. His name is Senju Naoki. Yes, the Senju clan in the Naruto world. And his sister is the famous Tsunade. Of course, the second ninja world war has not yet broken out, and Tsunade has not yet been named Three Ninjas. Instead, her identity as a member of the Senju clan is more eye-catching. At this time, Senju Naoki is no longer the hot-blooded fool like Naruto in the original work, but a modern soul who traveled here. From the panic of the first arrival to the calm acceptance of everything now, Naoki's adaptability is still quite strong. Especially in this Naruto world, where blood is supreme. He has the blood of the Senju clan, and he will be a strong Jonin in the future with a little effort. But he has seen all 720 episodes of Naruto. Jonin? It's not necessarily a cannon fodder. Even if we don't mention the earth-shaking 4th Ninja World War in the future, there are also the upcoming 2nd Ninja World War and the 3rd Ninja World War. Especially in the original work, he died in the 2nd Ninja World War, before he could shine, which made him full of a sense of crisis. But he is just a little kid. Even though he has shown a mature temperament different from ordinary people since his childhood, the Naruto world is not short of such people. Not to mention the bug level 1 on 7 situation in the future. Even now there are too many young geniuses in Konoha, the most famous of which are Jiraiya and Orochimaru, who are as famous as his sister. The strength is not good, and as for the harem of 3000 beauties that the time traveler wants most, he dare not even think about it. The most beautiful one in this era is his own sister, and the remaining princesses have big foreheads and don't even have the basic form of life. Alas. Naoki sighed heavily. Tsunade, who had already swept a bowl of ramen, looked at her frowning brother and was quite concerned. Her smooth fingers touched Naoki's forehead. Fever? No. Are you unhappy in the ninja school? Naoki was startled by Tsunade, who pounced on him, especially the pair of weapons that were famous in the Naruto world were right in front of his face, and his face flushed like a steam engine. No. After knocking off Tsunade's finger, Naoki was a little embarrassed and annoyed. I just want to become stronger. Huh. Tsunade looked at Naoki with a playful look. You are just a 4-year-old kid, and you want to become stronger now. What do you want to become stronger for? Naoki scraped off the noodles in the bowl helplessly. Of course, to become Hokage. Tsunade was a little speechless when she heard this answer, and then there was a hearty laugh. It's not that easy to be a Hokage, Naoki. You have to work hard. Naoki looked at Tsunade's smooth forehead. There was no mark representing the yin seal on it, which meant that Tsunade should not have studied the yin seal technique at this time, so there was one less cheated present. In this world, where everyone is cheating, it's hard to live. Ignoring Tsunade, who still wanted to tease him, Naoki put away the bowl and went to the backyard. There were 2 trees of unknown species planted in the yard. Naoki picked 2 leaves casually, and with a quick flick of his wrist, the 2 leaves were instantly wrapped in light blue chakra. Swish. 2 leaves were shot out by rope tree quickly and smashed to the ground. However, the 2 leaves did not stick into the ground like blades, but weakened when they touched the ground. Rope tree curled his lips helplessly. After all, his current chakra was pitifully weak in both strength and quantity. Even though he had the blood of the Senju and Uzumaki families in his body, he was still pitifully weak. I'm already 4 years old. If the time is correct, the 2nd Ninja World War will be in 5 years. I must grow up quickly. The wood release that Rope Tree had been thinking about did not suddenly appear, just because he was a time traveler. He was just an ordinary person with a little more chakra than others, and a little stronger recovery ability than others. After insisting on completing his physical training, Rope Tree moved his sore arms and sat cross-legged on the spot. A stream of cool energy slowly permeated from the cells around his body to restore his body. Chakra. The most surprising thing about Rope Tree's crossing into this world. Compared with the illusory ki and internal force in the original world, chakra was now flowing slowly in his young body. Chakra seeped out of the cells, was absorbed into the meridians, and finally gathered in the lower abdomen, forming a burning chakra flame. At this time, the amount of chakra of Rope Tree was comparable to that of a genin who could graduate from the ninja school, but this obviously did not satisfy Rope Tree. The fine tradition of the Senju clan is to be bold and aggressive. As long as you can't kill me, I will kill you. It is the purpose of the Senju clan's group battle. If I'm still inferior to others in chakra, I might as well cut my neck. Now I can only slowly practice the control of chakra, especially during the Second Ninja World War. I must not die in vain. As forward release, Rope Tree temporarily gave up studying it after the first attempt failed. Not to mention that there will be a chance to worship Orochimaru as a teacher and transplant the first generation cells in the future. Even if wood release is opened, it will not be of any benefit to the young Rope Tree. First of all, Rope Tree has always been upset that his direct blood relative of the first generation in the original work was killed by several explosive talismans. It's fine that the third Hokage didn't come to protect him, but Orochimaru, as his teacher, was deliberately transferred away. Otherwise, with Orochimaru's medical skills, it wouldn't be a problem to save him. But he even emptied his internal organs. This young man has no martial ethics. It's useless even if Naruto, the power of Yang, comes. There are too many doubts about his murder in the original work, not to mention the old man Danzo. If he really showed a super genius and opened would release at a young age, not to mention whether other villages would be nervous, the conspirators in Konoha would not be happy. After all, the word Senju has too much influence on Konoha. For example, if it was not Orochimaru, but Tsunade with the blood of the Senju who was competing with the fourth Hokage for the election, Nagata would have absolutely no chance. The enemy is too cruel and too dark. You have to be low-key. Naoki slowly opened his eyes and looked at the Hokage building tiredly. Chapter 2 Uchiha. Tsunade, is Rope Tree okay? A pale-faced boy in a kimono looked at Tsunade with dark golden snake eyes. Hey, Orochimaru. Don't you care about me? I'll be a jonin soon. A white-haired boy complained dissatisfiedly, glancing at Tsunade's collar while speaking. Bang! Tsunade kicked Jiraiya 10 meters away without mercy, looking at him with disdain. Orochimaru and I applied for the jonin exam last month. Jiraiya, you don't have enough missions, right? Huh? This? Jiraiya suddenly felt abandoned by his trusted companion, hiding aside and began to draw circles crazily. After Tsunade finished cleaning up Jiraiya, she looked at the aloof Orochimaru. Orochimaru, why are you interested in Rope Tree? What do you want to do? Haha, nothing, just caring. Orochimaru's cold laughter made the air around him drop a few degrees. The three were walking along Konoha Avenue to the Hokage building to accept the mission, and a group of people wearing Konoha green vests came towards them. The leader saw the three people, but did not say anything, just arrogantly pointed at the three people with his chin. And someone behind that person said sarcastically, you are worthy of being the disciple of the Hokage. You are going to be promoted to a jonin so soon, but you probably took some missions to find cats and dogs, you little brats who don't understand what war is. Orochimaru was unmoved by the verbal provocation, but Jiraiya quickly rolled up his sleeves. Uchiha guys, do you want to fight? Come on, I will weigh you carefully. The Uchiha who spoke came out. In addition to layers of wrinkles on his face, he also had hideous scars, and blood-red magatama instantly appeared in his eyes. Little brat, it seems that you still don't know what it means to respect your seniors. Today, I will discipline you on behalf of the Hokage. Come on. I'm afraid of you? Jiraiya also shouted wildly. Although he is still a chunin, he has the strength of a jonin like Tsunade and Orochimaru. Even among the jonins, he is not a weakling. Stop it, Masao. There is no need to vent your anger on these little brats. The leading Uchiha clan member suddenly spoke up to stop them. After all, we are members of the Konoha Guard. It is too humiliating to fight in the village. Uchiha Masao grabbed the man called Uchiha Masao, looked at Jiraiya and the other two with disdain, and then looked back at the Hokage building. In any case, it is extremely stupid to attack the Hokage's disciples under the eyes of the Hokage. I'm afraid that Fugaku can deal with such people. Let's go. Fugaku. Tsunade has heard of this name. After all, her brother is now in the ninja school. Some things will be passed to her ears, even if she doesn't ask. Uchiha Fugaku is the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan. He is the senior student of the ninja school, and is said to be a super genius. If it were not for the peaceful times, he would have graduated long ago. However, Tsunade is still very confident in her two companions. Even the lazy Jiraiya is definitely very powerful, so she sneered at the other party's words. Hey. Tsunade called Uchiha Masakazu, who was a leader. Huh. Take my punch. Tsunade suddenly attacked without any reason, and punched Uchiha Masakazu hard. Uchiha Masakazu obviously did not expect that Tsunade, a young man, had no martial ethics. He was beaten away by Tsunade's strange power, before he even had time to open his Sharingan. My lord. Damn it. What are you going to do? Many Uchiha were shocked and opened their scarlet Sharingans to stare at the three people. Damn it. Damn brat. Uchiha Masakazu reacted this time. As a proud Uchiha, he was beaten away on the street. The three people trapped in the encirclement stood back to back without any panic. Each took out a kunai and confronted each other without fear. In the Hokage building, two figures sat at a table. A crystal ball on the table was playing everything on the street. When he saw Tsunade beat Uchiha Shoichi, the third generation wearing the Hokage hat laughed out loud. Tsunade is still so irritable. The person opposite the third generation was the root of Konoha, Danzo. Danzo looked at the crystal ball in silence, and after a while he said, the Uchiha clan is becoming more and more arrogant, and their power is getting stronger and stronger. Just now they even tried to interfere with the Anbu again. We have to be on guard. Seeing his old friend mention Uchiha, the third generation also put away his smile. After all, they are the largest clan in Konoha, not to mention that the Sharingan is too dominant among the ninjas of the same level, so it is normal for them to be arrogant. Normal? Danzo was angry, looking at the third generation opposite. We should implement the teacher's plan and completely eradicate the Uchiha. The third generation slowly lit up his pipe. The power of the Uchiha is too strong. Why do we have to do something to split the village? Sarutobi. You are too weak to be bullied by the Uchiha. Weak? Maybe? At this time, the third generation, who was still at the peak of his power, waved his hand, and the image on the crystal ball disappeared. We have to deal with it. We can't let them really fight, especially that little guy Jiraiya, who has mastered a super powerful power recently. Seeing that the third generation left without responding to his words, Danzo slammed the table heavily. They were talking about that kid Fugaku just now, right? Tsunade's brother seems to be in the ninja school as well. Senju and Uchiha, haha, seems like a good topic. Danzo closed his eyes, no longer angry. Chapter 3 Ninja School Test. On the street. Shadow Snake Hand. Orochimaru's arm turned into countless poisonous snakes and attacked the Uchiha clan members. Fire style, great fireball technique. A signature Uchiha ninjutsu faced the sea of snakes, but when the flames in the sea of snakes met, Tsunade quickly flashed above the head of an Uchiha. Up there, this team of Uchiha was also experienced and immediately spotted Tsunade above their heads. Swish. 3 kunai flew towards Tsunade. Boom. Tsunade, who was shot, turned into a wooden stake after a puff of smoke. It's a substitute technique. Hey, what are you looking at, you red-eyed people? Jiraiya jumped out from behind Orochimaru. Toad oil bomb. A stream of thick oil with a fishy smell poured towards everyone. Get out of the way. Several Uchiha hurriedly jumped away, and just when they were unable to gain leverage in the air, Tsunade suddenly appeared in the air. Bang. Tsunade mercilessly hit each of them hard. Damn brat. The three Magatama in Uchiha Masami's eyes quickly turned, and he began to quickly seal his hands, obviously preparing to launch a large-scale ninjutsu. Jiraiya also bit his finger, and formed a summoning seal. Hey, stop it. A ninja wearing an animal mask appeared in front of everyone. And boo. At the same time, several Uchiha clan members also rushed over from a distance and jumped down. Uchiha Masumi and Jiraiya also stopped their attacks. It was obvious that the current situation could not be fought. More and more people began to arrive, but no one acted rashly. What are you doing? So many people gathered here. Everyone, please disperse quickly. There are still villagers to do business. A majestic voice sounded from behind, and the third generation of Hokage's bamboo hat slowly appeared in front of everyone. At this time, the third generation was not the old man who was trying to make peace with the mud later. After the death of the second generation, his powerful strength had already vaguely made him feel like the first person in the ninja world. Even if the Uchiha was arrogant, they would not dare to make trouble in front of this ninja hero. The Uchiha clan saw that there were more and more Anbu around, and the third generation personally came out to give them a way out, so they naturally did not dare to say anything more and helped the injured people to leave quickly. Before leaving, Uchiha Masashi glanced at the smiling third generation and saw Tsunade, Jiraiya and Orochimaru standing in front of the third generation. Don't think that the Hokage is so great. The Uchiha will make you pay the price sooner or later. Uchiha Masashi secretly swore that he must teach these Hokage disciples a lesson they will never forget. The third generation looked at the Uchiha clan members who withdrew and waved his hand to let the Anbu people disappear. You three, you are still causing trouble. Jiraiya was obviously dissatisfied. Hey, teacher. Didn't you see that they provoked us first? And we won. The third generation lovingly patted Jiraiya's shoulder. Really? In that case, you should clean up the streets first. What? Jiraiya looked at the streets that were made of smoke and dust by his own toad oil bombs, and he couldn't help crying. Shengshu-kun. A gorgeous girl stood happily at the school gate and greeted Shengshu, and Shengshu responded with a helpless look on his face. Such a cute girl must be cannon fodder in the war. It's better to keep a distance. Shengshu-kun, did you have a good weekend? It was okay. Xianlin, how about you? Of course. I went on a picnic with my parents. The barbecue was delicious, and there were butterflies. The girl next to him kept chattering. Her name was Xianlin Asami, and she was a civilian student. Speaking of civilian students, it means that their parents are not even ninjas, let alone a wealthy family. This is also a new policy proposed by the third generation, to cultivate ninjas among civilians, and try to break the monopoly of ninjas by the aristocratic families. It must be said that the starting point of this policy is good. It has inexplicable benefits for the prestige of the third generation itself, and if you are lucky, you can dig out talents like Minato Namake's, Sakura Hiruno, and the father and son of Mike. However, most children are still like Xianlin Asami, without a parent who is a ninja. Many things that can only be understood, but not expressed in words, are difficult to teach. Secondly, they are naive. They think that they can become a powerful ninja just by attending classes and doing their homework seriously. However, they don't know that as the children of some wealthy families, they will practice extremely cruel training outside of class to improve themselves. Let's put it this way. People like Senju Naoki and Uchiha Fugaku regard going to school as a pastime, while these civilian ninjas regard going to class as their only goal. The gap is too big. Of course, if the ninja world has always coexisted peacefully, then these civilian ninjas will be a little bit more useless. What's more terrifying is that once a war breaks out, they will be the first to be sent to the battlefield as cannon fodder. Don't say that war doesn't kill people. That's a fairy tale. Especially in this ninja world, where the firepower is still at a low lethality. The so-called war is to fight until one side has no one left, and then the other side will surrender. So thinking about it this way, the arrival of these civilian ninjas is a bit too dark. Even darkly, the village may think so, throwing a large number of civilian ninjas to the front to be cannon fodder, giving the children of wealthy families or their own direct lineage time to develop. Thinking of this, Rope Tree sighed as he looked at the girl who was still talking and laughing beside him. Xianlin, what's wrong, Rope Tree? Rope Tree looked into the girl's eyes, which revealed pure and lovely eyes. Nothing, you must work hard in school. Xianlin was stunned for 3 seconds, and his eyes suddenly turned into a crescent shape. Haha. Rope Tree came to the classroom, and came to the last row by the window. His class was the youngest class in the current ninja school. They were all taught some basic knowledge, such as literacy. The study of ninjutsu had to wait until the senior grades. A middle-aged uncle in a green vest walked in. It was Nami Yamanaka, the head teacher of Rope Tree's class. "It's nice to see you all again. Good morning, everyone. Take out your homework, the teacher will check it." Rope Tree shamefully slapped a scroll with strange animals on the table. "Last week's homework was copying class. Let me see everyone's drawings." Naoki looked at the creature in front of him that seemed to have two heads. "If I say this is a cat, some people will believe it." Boom. A heat wave suddenly came, and a figure crashed onto Naoki's desk. "What's going on?" Naoki jumped back and observed the person coming. The man was a senior student who was twitching in pain on the table. Teacher Yamanaka also reacted quickly. He quickly jumped over and looked at Naoki nervously. "Naoki, are you okay?" Naoki shook his head, looked at the half-dead senior student on the table, pointed at him and asked, "Teacher, what's going on?" Yamanaka Nami looked out the window. In that direction. Could it be a test for the senior class? Chapter 4. Cruel Man. Not really, right? Naoki looked at the senior who fell on the table. He beat his companion like this in a test? He was on the second floor. It was a bit too cruel. At this time, a group of people came in from the classroom door, and they surrounded the student who was beaten up. "Hurry up. Help. Teacher. Sanji is dying." 3 minutes later, a female ninja arrived, with blue healing chakra flashing in her hand, to help him heal his wounds. Naoki hid in the back, listening to the chatter in front of him, and realized that today's ninja test was originally a very casual assessment, but someone used the air-level ninjutsu, Dragon Fire Jutsu, to beat this unlucky child to the classroom. Naoki is so powerful, he actually dodged it. When everyone was amazed at the fire-breathing ruthless man, an inappropriate female voice came from the classroom. Teacher Yamanaka reacted this time. Just now, a person rushed up at such a fast speed, and Naoki actually dodged it easily. This is obviously not the performance of an ordinary child. Naoki looked at Kobayashi Asami, who had shouted with a speechless face. "Classmate? Do you want me to die early? What the hell are you shouting? Has Naoki already refined chakra?" Refined chakra? Doesn't that mean Naoki is a ninja? Amidst the whispers, even the senior students began to look at Naoki. After all, it was a bit too unusual for a 4-year-old child to start refining chakra. Fortunately, Mr. Yamanaka knew Naoki's identity. Although he was a little surprised, he didn't reveal too much emotion on his face. He just asked all the students to go out and clear the scene temporarily. Naoki looked at his classmates, who were either surprised or envious, and couldn't help but start to complain in his heart. Is this the legendary halo of the protagonist? I didn't do anything, so how come I became the focus all of a sudden? Kobayashi huddled next to Naoki, still praising himself. Naoki is awesome. He became a ninja at such a young age. He is indeed a super genius. Super genius? A senior student who heard Kobayashi's words looked disdainful. What a kid who knows nothing. Only Fugaku-san can be called a true genius. Kobayashi, a girl who was originally a bit introverted, didn't know where she got the courage to protect her child, and stood in front of Naoki. Impossible. Naoki is the best. He will definitely become the greatest ninja. The Fugaku-san you are talking about is not him. The senior laughed. Fugaku is the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan. After that, he pointed at Sanji, who was still being treated. Watch out, kid, that guy was beaten like this because he was rude to Fugaku-san. Kobayashi was also a little scared. After all, being able to beat someone to the second floor was simply a fantasy for a child of this age. Naoki quickly covered Kobayashi's mouth and even wanted to kill Kobayashi, so stop talking. You are a venomous girl who has been arguing with her father for no apparent reason. Naoshu. I heard that there is a student named Naoshu in the Senju clan. Could it be you? Another senior who heard Naoshu's name came over and looked at the fan-shaped family emblem. He was undoubtedly a disciple of the Uchiha clan. Senju? This surname is as loud as thunder. Of course, it is mainly for the children of big families. As for the common ninjas, they don't deserve to know it. Naoshu instantly felt several hot eyes looking at him. As expected, the eyes of the red-eyed people with fans embroidered on their clothes were the most wrong. Senju Naoshu, hello, my name is Uchiha Fugaku. A hedgehog head walked out of the crowd and stretched out his hand to Naoshu. Hello, Senior Fugaku. Naoshi shook Fugaku's hand, but the next moment his heart trembled. Fugaku was obviously testing him. His two hands were like a pair of fiery pliers, tightly pinching Naoshi's hand. Naoshi did not hesitate to put chakra on his hand to resist Fugaku's handshake. The two men were much different in size, but at this moment, they seemed to be at the same latitude, wrestling with each other. After shaking hands for half a minute, Fugaku was the first to smile and let go. Junior Naoki is indeed extraordinary, keep up the good work. I don't want the bloodline of the Senju clan to be lonely. No. Naoki didn't say much, just looked at Fugaku's dark eyes calmly. Wow. Fugaku smiled. So handsome. Naoki actually got the recognition of Senior Fugaku. That's great. Wait a minute, can someone explain to me what Senju is? Naoki and Fugaku passed by each other, but at this time, each of them had their own plans in mind. Naoki thought that it was obvious that Fugaku was not the Uchiha clan leader who was given away for free. Like ordinary Uchiha, he was also an arrogant and extremely cruel guy. He greeted him purely because of the surname Senju. As for the strength of Uchiha Fugaku, Naoki would not speculate rashly. How talented is an Uchiha who can open the Mangekyou Sharingan? Even if Uchiha Fugaku hasn't opened his Sharingan, he's almost there now. With all the Uchiha secret techniques, it's not surprising that he can fight ordinary Chunins alone. Uchiha Fugaku quickly calculated Noise's strength in his mind. Judging from the fact that Noise could resist his chakra just now, Noise's chakra refining definitely didn't start recently, especially since there are a lot of records about the Senju clan in the secret scrolls of the Uchiha clan. His super strong self-healing physique, the amount of chakra that exceeds that of the Uchiha clan, and of course the most important thing is the legendary superb wood release. The people in the clan are still a little arrogant. The Uchiha clan can ignore the Hyuga clan, and even ignore the Hokage, but they have begun to relax their vigilance against the Senju clan. Uchiha Fugaku is worthy of being a father who hangs on the wall. He has a sense of crisis at a young age, but when he turned around and looked behind him again, Noise, who was there just now, disappeared in an instant. Rope Tree had already left that place of trouble by pulling Xiaolin. Looking at Xiaolin following behind him, Rope Tree was speechless. Although he knew that Xiaolin was doing it for his own good and bravely fought wits and courage with the enemy to protect himself, why didn't he feel any gratitude at all? Women, they will only affect the speed of my sword swinging. For some reason, Rope Tree, a lonely young man who had never had a girlfriend in his previous life, suddenly had such a profound understanding. Xiaolin, we must have the minimum respect for our seniors, and remember one thing, I'm not a genius. Never. I'm just an ordinary last place student in Konoha. Huh. Rope Tree looked at the innocent girl and couldn't help but hold his forehead. Genius in the world of Naruto is a synonym for free. Foolish mortals will never understand the power of the last place student. Chapter 5, Wetbone Forest. There is a kind of people in this world whose starting point is obviously good, but the result is often contrary to their wishes, and they become an awkward existence that is not pleasing to both sides. Kobayashi Asami is such a person. She doesn't know why, since the accident, Naoki has deliberately kept a distance from her. Even children can clearly feel this alienation. Kobayashi is not wrong. Kobayashi just doesn't want Naoki to be worse than others. Naoki didn't say a word after returning to the classroom, except for carefully explaining that his really shameful painting was burned by the fire-breathing man. He didn't communicate with anyone. For several consecutive days, Naoki has been alone, and others have never seen him except in class. After all, he has become a celebrity in everyone's mouth, a genius in the ninja world. Even if it is a joke said by a child, Naoki feels a sense of crisis. And Kobayashi is obviously a bug triggered by the plot. If he and the Uchiha Red Eyes get involved, it will only get bigger and bigger. So Naoki said that he doesn't want to have any intersection with Kobayashi at all. Isn't it good to be a low-key person? After class that day, Rope Tree used the instant body technique to quickly get from the school gate to the next street corner as usual, bought fish for dinner and return home. After preparing the fish and stewing it in a pot, Rope Tree went to the attic. There was nothing too valuable in the attic, let alone the flying thunder god and the impure world reincarnation. Even Rope Tree, a direct descendant, could only envy these ninjutsu. Until now, Rope Tree was completely blind to ninjutsu except for a few ninjutsu that Tsunade had to teach him. As for Tsunade's strange power technique, the kind of Gangpei physical technique that put a great burden on the body, was obviously not something Rope Tree's small body could bear. However, there was a huge scroll in the attic. After Rope Tree pulled it open, he bit his finger. Reverse summoning technique. Boom. Rope Tree's figure disappeared, and the next moment he appeared in a somewhat gloomy forest. It was called a forest, but in fact it was more like layers of white bones, with a lot of sticky liquid hanging on them. But the amazing thing was that, although the liquid looked disgusting, it exuded a sweet smell. Apart from these, the only living creatures are fat slugs. That's right, this is the wet bone forest, which is known as one of the three great celestial places along with Myaboki Mountain and Ryachi Cave. Compared to the spiritual holy land that Orochimaru and Jiraiya found themselves, the wet bone forest has been passed down from the first generation, and Rope Tree signed a contract with the wet bone forest half a year ago. Hey, it's little Rope Tree, are you here to train again? You're really diligent. Several slugs greeted Rope Tree when they saw Rope Tree. Rope Tree really had nothing to do, so he ran to the wet bone forest. After all, like Myaboki Mountain, this place is also full of a lot of natural energy. The Sage Mode is a power that he will master sooner or later, so it's good to adapt to it in advance. Secondly, if you practice in the village, things like shuriken are okay, but some ninjutsu performed at home are more or less outrageous. As for going outside the village, sorry, there is no such option for Rope Tree who holds life safety above all else. After saying hello to the slug, Rope Tree found a relatively clean place, stood up, and began to practice hand seals. Don't ask why. Before becoming a wall hanger, isn't it good to practice hand seals honestly? I practice, I'm happy. After getting familiar with it a few times, Rope Tree began to practice ninjutsu. Rope Tree inherited the chakra of his grandfather's first generation. His attributes are water and earth, so Rope Tree is more accustomed to using these two types of ninjutsu. Water escape water clone technique. Unlike the big guys who use this advanced clone method silently, Rope Tree made 16 seals to separate a water clone, and this alone consumed 1/3 of his chakra. The two figures chased each other in the wet bone forest, and the collision of limbs was the result that Rope Tree gradually realized his own flaws and shortcomings, and continued to improve them, until he could get rid of his clone. This feeling of fighting with yourself is very wonderful, as if fighting each other in your mind, seeing the moves, and analyzing the flaws. After Rope Tree dodged the punch of the water clone, his right foot suddenly flew into the air, and kicked the chin of the water clone. The water clone was not to be outdone. He blocked Rope Tree's attack with his hand, and then knocked his head forward, causing a big bump on Rope Tree's forehead. Damn. Rope Tree cursed in dissatisfaction, and then went close to punch the water clone again. The slug on the side had small eyes and big doubts. Little Rope Tree is torturing himself. Should I remind Tsunade-sama? After all, this kind of left hand hitting the right hand, or beating to death, is not normal for anyone to see. Unfortunately, Rope Tree did not come up with a good way to defeat his clone this time, but the clone's chakra was exhausted, and it turned into a pool of water and disappeared in front of him. Rope Tree continued to make hand seals to use the water clone. This time, two of them appeared. As expected, Rope Tree was beaten badly. After a while, Rope Tree collapsed on a big rock with a swollen nose and face. A slug lay on Rope Tree to heal Rope Tree. Little Rope Tree, you are a little too hard on yourself. You are still a child. Rope Tree shook his head. Not little anymore. I'm already 4 years old. I could perform some logistical tasks in the Warring States period. I must work hard to maintain this hard-earned peace. Peace. Is this what Rope Tree pursues? I guess so. Rope Tree looked at the somewhat gloomy sky of the wet bone forest. Sir Slug, I have a feeling that the war is getting closer and closer to us. So I have to improve my strength quickly. The slug climbed onto Rope Tree's shoulder. Yes, Lady Tsunade is going on missions more and more frequently and getting injured. It is obvious that things are not very peaceful now. Looking at Rope Tree's resolute face, the slug finally swallowed all the words he wanted to say about Rope Tree's fight with the water clone. Rope Tree nodded, feeling that his chakra had recovered a little, and asked the slug to teleport him back home. It was already midnight in Konoha. Shangshu rubbed the injured area. Under the treatment of the slug, no external injuries could be seen. The internal pain disappeared completely after a good sleep. It must be said that the plugin is really useful, even if he is a small plugin. Shangshu drank the stewed fish soup and took a hot bath, but he might be too tired this time and fell asleep after a while. What Shangshu didn't know was that in the crystal ball of a wretched big man, it was the image of himself taking a bath. The third generation looked at the sleeping Shangshu, and his old face was a little embarrassed. He waved his hand to disperse the image and leaned back in the seat. A different little guy. Should I meet him? Chapter 6 Unexpected Trouble. Rope Tree woke up in the middle of the night in the cold bath water. He felt a stinging sensation all over his body. He had to grit his teeth and wrap himself in several layers of quilts to relieve the pain. The next day, when he came to the ninja school, Rope Tree was still a little bit wrong. He staggered and shook from time to time when he walked. Hey, kid. You are Senju Rope Tree, right? Rope Tree turned his head and looked at the person who called him. It was a man who was obviously much taller than him, with a shy look on his face. Who said the vicious words just now? Rope Tree looked around and pointed at the strong man uncertainly. You called me? The strong man seemed to have been fighting in his heart for a long time and finally made up his mind and nodded fiercely. That's right. Let's duel. They all say that you are the rookie king of this session. Senior Fugaku said that you are the only one who can be hostile to him. As long as I defeat you. It's equivalent to defeating Senior Fugaku. As long as I defeat you, then Kiko will be with me. So, the strong man was a little excited, and a line of hot tears flowed out. Duel with me? Ah. Naoki calmly picked up the backpack on the ground. He just used the backpack to perform the substitution technique. His real body used the instant body technique to quickly get behind the sturdy man, and completed the water dragon bullet technique with more than 40 seals. He didn't even see through this low level trick. He was completely defeated in seconds. I know you have heard about some things recently, but I, Senju Naoki, am not someone that can be challenged by ordinary people. Naoki left without looking back after saying this. The others looked at the sturdy man embedded in the wall and secretly swallowed their saliva. With the promotion of some people, the news of Naoki soon spread to the Uchiha clan. The current head of the Uchiha clan is Uchiha Jiraiya. After hearing the news, he didn't care too much until Fugaku found him. Father, what do you think of that kid from the Senju family? Uchiha Jiraiya was a little surprised to see that his son, who he had always been proud of, actually talked about Naoki specifically. A large number of ninjas appear in ninja schools every year, but those ninjas are simply not good enough to compete with us Uchiha. Even though that kid's surname is Senju, the Senju clan has long been integrated into ordinary villages under the leadership of the second Hokage. The Senju clan was originally sparsely populated, and now it is even fewer. Without a large family and excellent inheritance, he is ultimately fighting alone. Especially under the premise that he does not have wood release. He can't compete with our Uchiha clan. Uchiha Huotani looked at Fugaku. What's wrong? Are you worried about that kid? Fugaku shook his head. Father, I'm not afraid of any opponent, but Senju Naoki, as a member of the Senju clan, our intelligence agencies don't pay any attention to him at all. One Senju Naoki is not scary, but what about 10,000 Senju Naoki? Father, there are too many people in the clan who are arrogant and conceited. This is the biggest problem of my Uchiha. Shut up. Uchiha Huotani was so angry that his beard soared to the sky. Fugaku, are you declaring the greatness of the Uchiha clan? Father, even if there are 10,000 Senju Naoki, what does it matter? We Uchiha are still invincible among the same level. You are not thinking about the bright future of Uchiha now, but your own cowardice. Uchiha Huotani stood up angrily and looked down at Uchiha Fugaku. As a proud Uchiha, this cowardice is your shame. Senju Naoki, right? I will never forget the blood feud between our Uchiha and the Senju clan. Fugaku, you must use the other party's blood to wash away your shame. Tomorrow I will personally issue a challenge for you, and you must defeat Senju Naoki. Otherwise, you are not worthy of being named Uchiha. After that, Uchiha Huotani left angrily, and Uchiha Fugaku also doubted his life for a while. He didn't expect his father to be so paranoid and fanatical, and to have an almost pathological protection for the pride of Uchiha. Fugaku himself was also very proud of the Uchiha bloodline, but now he was a little disappointed. Is this really the pride of the Uchiha? Fugaku stretched out his palm, and the scholar Tumagatama Sharingan in his eye sockets looked at his palm. In a corner that Fugaku didn't even notice, there was a strange face on a black shadow. Are they Ashura and Indra in this life? Why do they feel a little strange? Ashura represents light, and Indra represents darkness. No matter how much I observe, I feel that the kid from the Senju clan is not a good person, and he is much weaker than the current Indra. This Indra is even stranger. He is not paranoid at all. Could it be because, although the antique of the previous generation is still curled up in the cold darkness, although he has the greatest chance, it is not bad to make a few more chess pieces. The face retreated back to the dark corner while talking to himself. At this time, Shengshu returned home. Because he fell asleep in the bathtub last night and his whole body was tingling, Shengshu also decided to give himself a day off. He had a nice meal and practiced for a while before falling asleep. In the dream, Shengshu dreamed that he seemed to have turned into the first generation of Hokage, with wood escape flying around, fairy magic rampant, and he could just throw it at the big Buddha. In the outside world, strands of energy purer than chakra and even purer than natural energy wrapped around Shengshu's body. If Shengshu opened his eyes, he would see a huge face smiling at him weirdly on the roof. Awaken your power, Ashura. My nephew. Hehehehe. Chapter 7 Sarutobi Hiruzen. Shengshu felt his body getting hot in his sleep, and an itchy feeling filled his whole body, as if countless bugs were crawling on him. When this feeling was about to cover his whole body, Shengshu finally took a breath of cold air and woke up instantly. The room was no different from usual, but Shengshu always felt that there was a pair of eyes staring at him. This creepy feeling was very bad. Shengshu was completely sleepy. He carefully checked the surroundings and collapsed on the bed again. Shengshu always felt that the world was a little different, as if he had a clearer sense of the surroundings. If he lived in a smoggy day before, now it was a sunny seaside. There's something weird. Shengshu, who was always on guard against everything around him, was a little unhappy with this change. He liked everything to be under his control. Whether it was good or bad, any fluctuation would touch his sensitive nerves. The irritable Shengshu finally didn't sleep again, and just sat quietly by the bed to get through the second half of the night. When he came to school in the morning, Shengshu could clearly feel that the eyes of the people around him were not right. From the previous envy and admiration, they turned into fear of looking at monsters. Even when Rope Tree walked into the classroom, the originally messy classroom instantly became quiet, which was an effect that teacher Yamanaka had not achieved. Teacher Yamanaka came to the classroom and looked at the class that was different from the past, as well as Rope Tree in the last row. Teacher Yamanaka was also from a branch of the wealthy Yamanaka family, but because of the limitation of my talent, I was stuck in the position of genin, so I applied to teach at the ninja school. But a 4-year-old child easily became a genin, and teacher Yamanaka was mixed with emotions for a while. The end point you dream of may be the starting point that others can reach with just one move. And Rope Tree, who was sitting at the top of the classroom, was obviously not aware of teacher Yamanaka's inner monologue. Even if he knew, he would not say anything to comfort him. People are inherently unfair. In their own world, some families work hard just to solve the problem of food and clothing, while some families can squander unimaginable wealth in a month. So many people will complain about themselves, and they will choose to believe that the only thing that others are better than themselves is the so-called family, and they will not be worse than others if they have a good father. Little do people know that wealth has always accumulated gradually. Even if everyone has the same means of production, in the end, the more diligent and willing to endure hardships will get rid of others to get more resources. For ordinary people like Yamanaka, his greatest wish may be to become a respected jonin, but in the eyes of Rope Tree, jonin is nothing but cannon fodder. Everything in the world is class-based, and each class wants different things. Instead of envying others, it is better to be down to earth and do well from your own generation. In class, Rope Tree reads some books brought from home. Of course, they are not secret scrolls of ninjutsu, but some customs in various parts of the ninja world and methods of survival in the wilderness recorded by predecessors. Senju Rope Tree. During the break, Rope Tree was still sitting in the classroom reading a book, and a voice interrupted him. Looking up, several people looked at him coldly. Everyone's clothes were embroidered with the Uchiha clan's round fan emblem, and the emblem was just short of being engraved on the forehead. "What's up?" One of the Uchiha suddenly shot out a white object from his sleeve and hit Rope Tree's face directly. Rope Tree's neck quickly bent back, and the object brushed past Rope Tree's pen tip. It was a piece of paper, or an envelope. Although it was not very hard, if it really hit Rope Tree's face, it would inevitably leave a blood mark. When the Uchiha saw Rope Tree dodge it, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, but he was still arrogant. "This is the challenge issued by our young clan leader to you. If you are a man, you should accept it, and then wash your neck, and wait for death." Rope Tree came back to his senses, looked at the envelope, and then looked at the three Uchiha in front of him. If Madara knew that there were descendants like you, would he slaughter you before Itachi? This was the first thought in Rope Tree's mind. The three people looked at Rope Tree in a daze, thinking that Rope Tree was scared silly, and sneered and planned to leave. "Hey." Rope Tree called the three people. "What's wrong, kid? Is there a problem?" "Of course." Rope Tree stood up. "First, you are senior students. You cannot enter the junior class without permission. Second, can you help me ask Uchiha Fugaku if he has a brain problem? He is a 12-year-old, and he is challenging me, a 4-year-old. Did he get kicked in the head by a donkey? Third, since it is Uchiha Fugaku who is challenging me, let him come to me himself. Who do you three think you are? Fourth, you just threw something at me, and I'm very unhappy. Fifth, are you mentally retarded? Why did you listen to me for so long? What?" The three of them hadn't reacted yet. Water style, water wave. Rope Tree's belly suddenly swelled up, and a huge amount of water gushed out of his mouth. The three people obviously didn't expect Rope Tree to dare to attack in the classroom, and so quickly, and they were shaken by the rushing water. "Ah." One of them suddenly covered his thigh, which was nailed with a sharp kunai. Rope Tree's attack was completely unreasonable and fast, and he didn't give them time to react. He threw a kunai immediately after using the water wave. That Uchiha was obviously just a flower in a greenhouse. His mind went blank as he watched the blood flowing from his leg. The other two people did not fall into this blank. In the moment of confusion, they were filled with endless anger. When did someone dare to attack Uchiha? Fire style. Great fireball technique. A huge fireball roared over, and on the other side, a person threw a few kunai to block Rope Tree's retreat. Water style. Water wave. Dodging the thrown kunai, Rope Tree chose to win the great fireball, and a water ball that was not as big as the fireball appeared. The two ninjutsu collided, and a large amount of water vapor appeared. The confusion in the vision and the students who were panicked by the fight between several people made the surroundings a chaotic battlefield for a while. The two Uchiha obviously had not yet opened their Sharingan. Listening to the noisy voices, they were also somewhat restrained in the fog. "Yamagachi, where are you? Don't talk." Another voice reminded his companion in panic. "Is it there?" Rope Tree, who had prepared early, suddenly jumped up and punched the place where the sound came from. Boom. Unexpectedly, the body that was hit suddenly turned into a puff of smoke. "I found you." The two Uchiha finally saw Rope Tree. Rope Tree looked at the two calmly. "I see. I underestimated you. It seems that you are not all idiots. Are you using the sound to attract me to show up?" An Uchiha took out a kunai from the ninja tool bag at his knees and looked at Rope Tree fiercely. "Little brat. It's too early for you to fight your uncle. Go to hell." The two blocked Rope Tree on both sides and stabbed Rope Tree with the kunai without hesitation. Swish. As the blade pierced into the skin, the two Uchiha smiled triumphantly. The water vapor quickly dissipated. A melodious applause rang out. As expected of Uchiha, "It's really great. Of course, this kid is useless." They suddenly found that the one who was applauding was Senju Rope Tree. "Then who are we stabbing?" The two calmed down and looked at the guy in the middle of them. It turned out to be the Uchiha who was hit by a kunai at the beginning. The two kunai stabbed at his waist respectively. The two quickly let go and watched everything in amazement. "You must stay calm when fighting any enemy. Didn't you Uchiha teach you this? Naoki looked at the two people with a relaxed expression and whistled with a smile. Illusion? When? One of them finally reacted and looked at his companion who was stabbed, a little at a loss. If you don't send him to the infirmary, he may really die. I don't know if he has stabbed his internal organs. TSK. Naoki still looked at the three people with relish, while the companion they stabbed had already fainted from the pain. What are you doing? Finally, a teacher arrived and immediately captured the two Uchiha and quickly treated the unlucky guy who was hit by 3 kunai in a row. Naoki was also controlled by a teacher and locked in a separate small room. Injuring people in the ninja school, such a bad thing was naturally placed in front of the Hokage at the first time. The third generation rubbed his temples tiredly. What happened? Yesterday it was at the school gate, and today it was at the school? However, after hearing the cause and effect of the incident, the third generation finally showed anger on his face. The Uchiha clan has gone too far. They want to compete and fight Jiraiya and others fairly. They actually go to trouble a child. They have crossed the line. In another office in the Hokage building, the calm Danzo was also listening attentively to what happened just now. Senju Naoki, interesting. From the report he should have a very high fighting talent and good fighting IQ. Using water mist to interfere with vision, and then using a little bit of insignificant sound illusion to achieve such a result. It is really excellent. It is simply perfect to control people's hearts. Such a person is really more suitable for the route. Naoki was locked up until midnight and then released. It is said that the third generation Hokage came to the school in person, but he did not directly meet Naoki, the perpetrator, but just called all the teachers together for a meeting. I heard that some teachers were scolded, including my own teacher Yamanaka. Well, I feel a little guilty. As for the final responsibility, Naoki said he was not worried at all. The third generation came to the ninja school just for show. The real responsibility is still with the Uchiha. After all, no matter how you look at it, the Uchiha is in the wrong. Not necessarily. If the Uchiha is a little shameless, they might use those three little guys as pawns to redeem themselves, but it shouldn't be possible, right? What Naoki didn't know was that in the Uchiha clan, several people were kneeling in front of the current clan leader Uchiha. Waste. Just send a letter of challenge. How could it be like this? Who told you to send it to school? Even if you send it, there shouldn't be a conflict at that time. Even if there is a conflict, 3 people can't beat 1. Are they waste? The most annoying thing is that they use such a shameful method. The Uchiha clan is under an illusion. I'm ashamed to tell others. Maybe the last 2 points are what the clan leader is most angry about. He feels that they have tarnished the glory of the Uchiha clan. The faces of the people who were baptized by the saliva were also ruddy, but it was obvious that they were not refreshed, but angry. Clan leader, how about we pretend that we don't know what the 3 of them did and just say it was a joke between children? The Hokage obviously thought so, otherwise the third Hokage would not have reprimanded those teachers. Uchiha Huotani looked at the person who spoke coldly. No matter what, that brat must pay the price. Fugaku, who was standing aside, said, "Father, I will go. He is not my opponent." Uchiha Fugaku's tone was very calm, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. His calmness was in sharp contrast with the anger of the Uchiha clan members around him. Uchiha Huotani looked at Uchiha Fugaku carefully. "Maybe I blamed you wrongly. Go, defeat that brat, and I will let you take care of the secret library of the Uchiha clan." Clan leader. Everyone looked closely and saw that it was Uchiha Teiji, and they couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Uchiha Teiji is the younger brother of Uchiha Shoichi. One of the brothers is in charge of the secret vault, and the other holds an important position in the Konoha Guard. They are definitely powerful in the Uchiha clan. What's wrong, Teiji? Are you dissatisfied? Looking at Uchiha's eyes, the 3 Magatama in them staring at him, Uchiha Teiji couldn't help but lower his head. Uchiha Fugaku watched all this, glanced at his father suspiciously, and then stepped aside respectfully. Uchiha Teiji was a little angry. Obviously, he didn't expect the fire to burn on his head. He went back home and kept sulking. Uchiha Masakazu, on the other hand, was more open-minded and laughed at himself. The clan leader is the clan leader after all. In fact, he wanted to make Fugaku the leader from the beginning, and he even put on a show for us. The Senju rope tree was just a lead. Uchiha Taiji was obviously dissatisfied. Isn't it too selfish for the clan leader to do this? Uchiha Masakazu calmly comforted his brother. Don't worry, didn't you say that you have to defeat the Senju rope tree? Hearing this, Uchiha Taiji became more anxious. Brother, don't you think Fugaku can't beat a little brat? Uchiha Masakazu recalled the battle with Tsunade that day, tilted his head, and touched his chin. Who knows? After all, it's the Senju clan. If Fugaku really loses, then I don't think he has the face to be his young clan leader. Rope Tree hummed a little tune and came to the door of his house and unexpectedly found that the lights were on. At Tsunade's back. That's not right. Didn't she say she was going to the border? How many days this time? An alarm bell instantly rang in Naoki's heart, but on the surface he still walked in with a swagger. After all, if someone really wanted to do something, at least they would turn off the lights. He opened the door and saw a person sitting in the middle of the lobby. She was wearing a white long skirt, black hair, and a coquettish hat. Naoki's heart skipped a beat. The third generation Hokage of Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 would release Awakening. Naoki obviously didn't expect that the third Hokage would be waiting for him at his home. After all, he had never met this nominal master since he was born. Some people say that Ashirama and Madara are the greatest existences in the ninja world, and some people say that Obito is the key figure who changed the plot later. But in Naoki's opinion, the key figure who really promoted the development of the ninja world, besides Black Zetsu, is Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him. He was ordered to take charge of the situation in the face of the death of the second Hokage, and maintained the peace of the ninja world. Later, he led Konoha to victory in 2 ninja world wars, making Konoha firmly occupy the top spot in the ninja world. Not only that, the 3 disciples he trained were only 1 level lower than the wall. During his reign, he eliminated the Uchiha clan that the second Hokage had never eliminated, and created an extremely harmonious relationship between civilians and ninjas in the village. In short, this is a powerful ninja, a responsible teacher, a successful politician, and a great strategist. Facing such a smart person, Naoki was well prepared, but when this moment really came, he found that it was far from as easy as he imagined. Hokage-sama. Naoki bowed respectfully, and Sandai looked at Naoki with a smile. Come and sit down, there's no need to be so nervous. Naoki sat opposite Sandai this time, and looked at Sandai. Sandai at this time was not the wretched old man later, but a tough looking young man. Right, this is worthy of the domineering nickname of Shinobi. Naoki, how was your school today? Sandai spoke as if he was Naoki's parent, and Naoki was a little embarrassed. It's okay, except for a few flies that jump a lot, and are very annoying. Sandai laughed. Naoki, what do you think of the Uchiha clan? Here comes the point. There are many ways to answer this question. Naoki can naturally answer it in a silly and innocent way, or tell Sandai a satisfactory answer, but Naoki still wants to answer according to his heart. The Uchiha clan has extreme emotions. They will have infinite hatred and infinite love at the same time, so they are relatively difficult to control. Naoki looked at Sandai, and Sandai smiled and encouraged Naoki to continue. And they have the bloodline limit that is difficult for ordinary ninjas to master, which makes this clan even more dangerous. No one wants to have a group of crazy people around them, and they are also a group of powerful crazy people. The third generation smiled at Naoki, who was not even as tall as the chair, and suddenly asked, if you were the Hokage, how would you deal with the Uchiha? Naoki thought for a moment, and gave an answer. Properly satisfy them, but keep starving them. In the end, they will swell, and burst like balloons. The third generation was obviously not satisfied with this answer. Are you saying that the Uchiha clan will fall into discord? Of course, under the super brainwashing of the third generation and other high-level officials, 2 traitors with extraordinary strength appeared in the Uchiha clan one after another. If he doesn't get out, who will get out? Speaking of which, the Uchiha clan is also a bit tragic. After the ancestor Madara, there have been few ninjas who can truly be called the pillars of the clan. It was not easy to wait for the one who opened the manger key, but 2 defected to the enemy and 1 was killed. If Naoki were a member of the Uchiha clan, he would definitely vomit blood. Of course, before Uchiha Shizu and Uchiha Itachi came out of nowhere, no one would believe his words. Yes, but although the Uchiha clan is rampant, it is not a stubborn problem of Konoha, at least not the primary problem. Now, in addition to the Land of Fire, many places are fighting. Although it is small scale, it will sooner or later involve Konoha. Uchiha is a part of Konoha after all, so there is no need to kill them. In simple terms, it is to solve the primary contradiction first, and then pay attention to the secondary contradiction. That may become the next primary contradiction, after solving the primary contradiction. After saying this, the eyes of the 3rd generation are no longer appreciation, but admiration. Naoshu, you have this kind of thinking at the age of 4. It's rare. Did your sister teach you this way? Naoshu shook his head quickly. No, my sister is stupid. Ha 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 ha. Seeing that Naoshu was unwilling to explain further, the 3rd generation also went with the flow, and used a polite, but awkward sentence to continue the conversation. Hearing what Rope Tree said about Tsunade, Sande couldn't help but laugh. She is a little silly, but she is very kind. Yeah, good people are silly. Sande touched his beard. So you admit that you are a bad person? Rope Tree raised his chin. Of course not, I'm just a smart person. Same smart people are bad. Lord Sande, you are scolding the Nera clan. Sande didn't continue to ask, but cleverly led the topic back to Rope Tree's daily life. By the way, Tsunade has a bad habit. That is, she loves gambling too much. Otherwise, I will give you all her mission bounties in the future. Rope Tree suddenly felt moved, thinking back to Tsunade who sometimes robbed and searched, but he immediately realized that Tsunade was more likely to beat him up and then rob the money. So, Rope Tree was very decisive. Agree. Helping his sister quit gambling is a duty of every fearless brother. Sande took out a note and handed it to Rope Tree, and Rope Tree instantly showed a rare money crazy look on his face. You like money? Yeah, who doesn't? The 3rd generation looked at the money grubber Naoki with interest, but the corners of his mouth began to rise. For Naoki, as a social animal who was poor in his previous life, no one could say no to money. Money brings people not only happiness, but also happy troubles. Pay attention. It's happy. Wait, what is this? Naoki touched a scroll under the folding paper. Looking at the 3rd generation who was smiling like an old fox, Naoki opened the scroll cautiously. What? Naoki looked at the scroll in shock. It can be regarded as returning the property to its original owner. After all, no one except the 1st generation can use would release. Naoki was holding a scroll of ninjutsu that recorded would release. Naoki felt that the scroll in his hand was hotter than a stove, and he immediately threw it on the table. 3rd generation, I don't know would release. It's useless for you to give it to me. You also know that I'm better at water release. You took the wrong one, right? Although the 3rd generation did not speak, he almost engraved the 3 words I don't believe on his forehead. If you don't believe me, look at this ninjutsu. Would release would clone. Wuzusi. Look. There's nothing here. The Sande quietly watched as branches stretched out from the body of the Rope Tree, forming a wooden man Rope Tree next to it. Oh my god. Rope Tree wanted to curse. When did I learn would release? Why didn't I feel anything at all? He looked at the Sande with tears in his eyes. Sir Sande, do you believe me when I say I just learned it? Chapter 9. Practicing would release and improving strength. The 3rd generation looked at the Rope Tree in front of him calmly, while the Rope Tree wanted to cry, but had no tears. The 3rd generation stood up and patted the Rope Tree on the shoulder. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. You just practice well. But your strength is obviously too wasted in the low level class. I will help you apply for the advanced class. 3rd generation, I'm only 4 years old. Not young anymore. Besides, except that you look like a 4-year-old, your strength and thoughts have nothing to do with a child. The 3rd generation looked at the deflated Rope Tree, laughed a few times, and turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. Shadow clone. Rope Tree licked his lips. There was no way. The shadow clone of a strong man of the third generation's level was not something he could see through. He looked down at the scroll on the table and the wooden clone next to it. What's going on? The awakening of the wood escape was really a bit beyond Rope Tree's expectations. Even if it was not as extreme as the Despair Sharingan, at least give some reaction. This top ability in the ninja world was awakened like this? This is easier than eating and drinking water. No, eating and drinking water at least have some feeling, but what he did is as simple as farting. After a brief excitement, Naoki quickly controlled his emotions. Activating wood release was only the first step of his original plan. Now he still had no ability to protect himself. Secondly, look at Yamato's wood release. It's not how weak it is, but it's definitely not the performance of a top level bloodline limit. Although he is the blood of the Senju clan, he still has to work hard, otherwise he will be inferior to Yamato. Naoki was no longer sleepy at this time. He took out the scroll of the wet bone forest and instantly reversed the spirit. Naoki carefully studied his body, but it was a pity that he was not a machine after all. He just felt that the activity of his body cells had increased, so the chakra had increased. If the amount of chakra of an ordinary genin is 10, Naoki's chakra was basically 12 before, and now it has reached 15. Of course, the awakening of wood release should be more than that, but Naoki didn't have many ways to make a specific measurement at this time. So it can be seen that Orochimaru is right. For ninjas who are not so talented, technology has brought about tremendous changes to them. If it was Orochimaru who helped Naoki measure his physical fitness at this time, he would definitely get a lot of important data. With Orochimaru's scientific research quality, he might really be able to mass produce wood-style ninjas like Tenzo. However, Orochimaru now should be just a ninja who looks a little perverted in others. He is committed to developing various snake-type ninjutsu, and is not so concerned about the scientific research of the human body. Should we guide Uncle Snake to the great path of scientists in advance? Naoki was also inflated at this time, and actually wanted to start changing the plot. However, this idea flashed in his mind. At this time, Orochimaru's strength was just a good jonin, and he did not have the strength of the later Kage level. Moreover, without the blessing of the name of 3 ninjas, Orochimaru's prestige was insufficient. Once he was discovered conducting human experiments, he might not escape as in the original plot, but be beaten into a snake. In addition to the increase in chakra, the speed of chakra recovery has also been greatly improved. If the previous increase was 0.2, it is now 0.5. This change is exaggerated, which is equivalent to extending the sustainable combat time of Rope Tree by more than double. This shows the horror of wood release. After awakening, it is definitely not as simple as putting wood and doing greening. If it continues to strengthen, it is likely to become a fairy body like the first generation. A slug not far from Rope Tree saw that Rope Tree could actually release wood release, and hid behind a stone, not knowing what to think. After Rope Tree checked his body, he roughly came to the conclusion that at this time, he was an outstanding existence among the genin. Even if he was put in the 12 little strongmen of Konoha a few decades later. Okay, I don't deserve it. They have the aura of the protagonist. His current strength is roughly equivalent to Kiba before the Konoha Chunin exam. He is like a general genin. If he fights with ordinary genin, he can't say that he can suppress the opponent, but at least he can't lose. With a rough estimate, Rope Tree finally looked at the wood release scroll given to him by the third generation seriously. However, what disappointed Rope Tree was that this scroll only contained some relatively basic wood release ninjutsu. There was no record of ninjutsu such as Tree World Advent and Flower Tree World Advent, not to mention the Great Buddha. Of course, even if these ninjutsu were given to Rope Tree now, he would not be able to use them. Even in the later period, when Gundams were flying all over the sky and immortal arts were everywhere, this kind of skill was absolutely unsolvable. You can't chew too much. Practice well first. Wood release is not a ninjutsu after all, but a blood limit. For those who have this blood limit, as long as they practice a few more times, they can easily master it. This is why Rope Tree was able to release the wood release clone just now. After a sleepless night, Rope Tree was immersed in the pleasure of practicing wood release. It was not until the sun rose in Konoha that Rope Tree returned to the ninja world. This time, Rope Tree could feel the power of wood release even more. He was full of energy after not sleeping all night. Even if there were any small scratches during the practice, they would scar and fall off in just an hour. Would release is essentially some characteristics of the sacred tree, which can drive the growth of physical and even mental strength, so it would be a waste if I don't practice physical skills. Practicing physical skills has long been in Naoki's plan, but his previous body obviously couldn't withstand too much high intensity training, but now the awakening of wood release has easily solved this problem. Who is the best in the ninja world? Konoha 8 Gates Mike. However, the current Konoha Blue Beast is not even the basic form of life. Even Mike, who created this ninjutsu, is a little kid that no one cares about. Then I can only wait for Tsunade to come back and let my sister teach me the strange power technique. As a Goken style, it is also very good to lay the foundation for the 8 gates. Under the explicit or implicit reminder of the third generation, Naoki did not go to school anymore. Except for eating, sleeping, and taking a bath, he basically practiced wood release in the wet bone forest. Naoki did not go to school, which naturally made some people dare not carry out their plans, and the school seemed to punish the Uchiha side. The 3 Uchiha who made trouble were expelled. Hearing this news, Naoki felt a little sorry. Uchiha sent those 3 little guys to the ninja school, obviously so that they could serve in the village openly. If this happened, the 3 of them would probably become the dark power of Uchiha forever. To be honest, those 2 little guys who were not afraid of blood were still a little smart, but this was the sadness of being a chess piece, especially a chess piece with poor strength. Only when you become strong and have your own beliefs can you become a chess player. In the corner, a black shadow flashed by. Chapter 10 The Secret of the Thousand Hands. Days passed one by one. As Rope Tree gradually mastered the ability of wood release, his physical fitness and chakra volume were steadily improving. In order to master the power, he deliberately reduced the intensity of training by 1 level. For a whole month, Rope Tree spent a carefree month at home, Wet Bone Forest. At this time, Rope Tree felt that he should be able to beat the 2 of himself a month ago. On this day, just after Rope Tree came out of the Wet Bone Forest as usual, a doorbell rang. Supe. A familiar voice, a beautiful figure, and a world-class thing. Sister, why are you back? It was Tsunade who came back. She smiled at Rope Tree. Are you surprised? Sister can't bear to leave you, so she came back directly after completing the mission. Rope Tree looked at Tsunade who was bending over. Her old face blushed and turned her head away. No, it's normal for ninjas to go on missions. Tsunade directly put her face close to Rope Tree, and her big eyes blinked at Rope Tree. Really don't miss sister? Sister will be sad. Woman, you've had enough. Naoki ran to the kitchen with a red face. I'm back. I'll cook for you. Ha. Omelette rice. Got it. Tsunade leaned against the door, narrowed her eyes, and quietly watched Naoki who was busy in the kitchen. After a long time, Master Naoki finally placed the omelette rice and the self-made sweet and sour pork in front of Tsunade. Tsunade looked at the tempting sweet and sour pork and tentatively picked up a chopstick. Fuck. Naoki, where did you learn this dish? Naoki held the bowl quietly and said coldly, eat it. This can't stop your mouth. Naoki is disobedient again. It seems that you need to be punished. After preparing the warm bath water for Tsunade, Naoki went to wash the dishes first. After all, taking a bath when Tsunade was around was a nightmare for him. After all, when he was a child, besides his parents, he only took a bath with Tsunade. Forget it. It's too exciting, so I won't mention it. Tsunade took a comfortable bath and came out wrapped in a bathrobe. Rope Tree hesitated for a moment, but finally decided to confess to Tsunade. What? You awakened would release? Tsunade looked at Rope Tree in surprise, but what surprised Rope Tree was that Tsunade was not too happy except for being surprised. Tsunade looked at Rope Tree and bit her lip. Have you really awakened? Would release, would clone technique. When she saw the branches extending from Rope Tree, Tsunade seemed to stagger a little. Rope Tree naturally felt that something was wrong with Tsunade. Sister, do you know something? Tsunade obviously didn't expect Rope Tree to give her such a big surprise. How should I put it? Rope Tree, you know our grandfather, the first Hokage. Yes, of course I know. The famous Senju Hashirama is well known to all ninjas. Tsunade is fortunate to have a warm grandfather-grandson relationship with the first generation, but Rope Tree, because he was born late, did not have this opportunity. Then do you know how Grandpa died? Naoki's eyes widened instantly. This is a mystery that Naruto has not solved at the end. Could it be that Tsunade knows? Tsunade paused, obviously hesitating, but finally decided to tell Naoki. Grandpa was a very powerful ninja, but he died in his prime. Some people say that Grandpa died because he was seriously injured by Uchiha Madara in the Battle of the Valley of the End with Uchiha Madara, but that's not the case. The real reason is would release. Naoki looked at Tsunade in confusion. Naoki, do you feel that your vitality is particularly abundant? Yes, my physique is now twice as strong as before. Tsunade nodded. Then you also know that our parents died early, right? Right. In Naoki's memory, the space occupied by his parents was very small, and Tsunade basically took care of him when he was a child. However, Naoki always thought that it was because the average life expectancy in the ninja world was generally low that led to his parents' early death. After all, his parents were not powerful ninjas. Tsunade touched Naoki's head. Actually, my father told me something the night before he died. As my grandfather's son, my father's strength is not that strong, and at that time, my father and my second grandfather had some conflicts, which were about the future path of the Senju clan. My father did not inherit my grandfather's strength, and at the same time he could not match the prestige of my second grandfather. He was always unhappy, and finally decided to use an experiment to stimulate himself, and awaken the wood release. Rope Tree obviously did not expect that his father had such a past, but after thinking about it, he understood. As the son of Senju Hashirama, his father is definitely the second generation of ninjas, and his future has an extremely bright premise, but there is also a Senju Tobirama whose strength and prestige are far above him. Senju Tobirama is not only the think tank of the Senju clan, but also has the prestige of conquering the world with the first generation, which makes his old father, the son of heaven, very embarrassed. So I don't know where he got some method to awaken the wood release, but judging from the current results, it should have failed. Father, failed. Tsunade couldn't help but increase the strength in her hands. No, father succeeded. Nani? Tsunade looked at Noise and said seriously, if the Sharingan is a cursed power, then the Senju clan is more like a cursed bloodline. Compared to ordinary people, the Senju clan has an extremely strong vitality, which is why our ancestors could last for thousands of years during the Warring States period. My father told me that once the wood release is awakened, it is like lighting a fire in the body, and the vitality of the body continues to burn. So this is why Grandpa and Dad died so early. Although the vitality of the Senju clan is far superior to other ninjas, once the wood release is activated, its consumption is also extremely huge. In other words, if the life of others is a stick of incense, the Senju clan is a candle after awakening the wood release. Being stronger than others will also consume faster than others. In short, it is a kind of overdraft. However, Tsunade gently pointed her finger at Noise, but your sister is very talented. I'm studying a ninjutsu. Once successful, I can perfectly solve this problem. Got it? Got it all. A super big mystery was finally solved. The death of the first generation also has a perfect explanation. No matter how strong the first generation is, he has not completed the leap of life level and reached the realm of the six paths sage. He can only be said to be a person standing at the top of mortals. If he has not completed the leap of life level, it means that his lifespan will not be increased too much. Think about Uchiha Madara, who survived until the Third Ninja World War. He lived decades longer than the first generation. And don't forget that Madara awakened the Samsara in his later years. Although I don't know what side effects that thing has, it must have a certain overdraft of vitality. As a ninja at the same level as Madara, the first generation can probably live that long. But the first generation died in his prime. And the first generation was a famous cockroach. Now it seems that the answer has been revealed by Tsunade. Would release. Naoki looked at his palm with a wry smile. Sure enough, powerful power always has to pay a price. He is not a wall hanger. Naoki also understood that the ninjutsu that Tsunade was talking about was the Yin Seal. It is estimated that Tsunade's original purpose of developing this ninjutsu was to solve this trouble of the Senju clan. Wait, why does it feel a bit like Imimero? Awakening means death. Is this the tragedy of being a sage? Looking at the gentle Tsunade, Naoki was also moved. However, if the average Senju clan heard this news, they would be at a loss, but Naoki was not. Knowing the future development context, Naoki was 98% confident that he could reach the level of the Six Paths Sage. By then, the vitality consumed by wood release would probably be a drop in the bucket. Chapter 11, Apprenticeship to Orochimaru. Tsunade saw that Rope Tree still looked normal and sighed. Rope Tree, you have never acted like a child. Rope Tree slapped Tsunade's fingers on his head, but don't adults like sensible children? Tsunade tilted her head. That's right, but this is too boring. After rolling her eyes at Tsunade, Rope Tree planned to take a bath. Do you want your sister to help rub your back? Get lost. The next morning, 2 uninvited guests came to the house. Rope Tree looked at Orochimaru and Jiraiya sitting in the hall, and was also puzzled. It stands to reason that Jiraiya really likes to hang around his home when he has nothing to do, but Orochimaru is really a rare guest. After making tea for the two, Rope Tree sat next to Tsunade obediently to receive the guests. Jiraiya sat next to Rope Tree in a wretched manner, his eyes staring at a certain indescribable part at a weird angle. Rope Tree, I heard that you want to be Hokage? Yeah, please stop looking around with your eyes. Naoki sat forward speechlessly, blocking Jiraiya's sight. Young man, you have no martial ethics. Jiraiya saw that he was exposed and looked at Naoki with resentment. Then Naoki, would you consider becoming my disciple? After all, I'm also the future Hokage. Become a disciple. Naoki looked at Jiraiya strangely. He looked at Orochimaru with a frosty face. To be honest, the level of teaching of the 3 ninjas to their disciples is extremely high. Not to mention Jiraiya, the 3 founders of Akatsuki, the 4th generation Hokage, and the 7th generation Hokage are all his disciples. Strictly speaking, Orochimaru is the only disciple of the second pillar. Although the second pillar did not rely too much on Orochimaru's ninjutsu in normal battles, his swordsmanship alone is amazing, not to mention the development of ninjutsu such as Kirin. If you say that Orochimaru did not participate in it, the second pillar would not believe it, even if you beat him to death. Finally, there is Tsunade. This one is really fierce. He taught a woman who thought she could be on par with Hanging Wall. She is indeed the most powerful illusion. But why did Jiraiya suddenly bring this up? He is still in the ninja school? Could it be? Jiraiya, tell me honestly whether the 3rd Hokage asked you to come here. Jiraiya's face instantly looked like he had eaten shit. How do you know? Rope Tree looked at him as if he was an idiot, indicating that he didn't want to pay attention to him. At this time, Orochimaru, who had been silent all the time, spoke up. Rope Tree, the 3rd Hokage told us about your situation in general and asked if we were willing to accept you as a disciple, so we came here. Jiraiya picked his nose and moved closer to Orochimaru. By the way, you, who usually finds troublesome, actually came here this time. It's too much. Alas, do you like Tsunade too? As expected. Orochimaru, I want to duel with you. Rope Tree was very upset. Did you come here to see Tsunade? Believe it or not, I'll beat you. Ask my sister to beat you to death. Jiraiya also realized that what he said seemed to be a little disrespectful to Rope Tree and moved closer again. Little Rope Tree, as long as you accept me as your master, I will teach you very powerful ninjutsu. Have you seen a toad as big as a house? That's my summoning beast. Pa. Tsunade punched Jiraiya to the ground and looked at Rope Tree gently. After reporting the mission yesterday, the teacher met them and asked them if they were willing to accept you as a disciple. Of course, Rope Tree, if you think these 2 guys are too weak, you don't have to choose them. Are you so disrespectful to your companions? Rope Tree didn't need to think about this matter, just looked at Orochimaru's dark golden cold pupils. I want to choose Lord Orochimaru as my teacher. Before Rope Tree and Orochimaru spoke, an unknown object on the ground wailed. Such a good opportunity. A super good opportunity to peek. Swishting. This time Tsunade threw Jiraiya out directly. After throwing Jiraiya, he clapped his hands in a cool manner. Naoshu, are you sure? Becoming a disciple is a very serious matter. Looking at Jiraiya, who turned into a shining star in the sky, Naoshi said that it seemed useless to regret. Unexpectedly, Orochimaru stood up directly. Come to the top of the Hokage rock to find me tomorrow morning. After that, he left without looking back. No need for apprenticeship ceremony or tea. Naoshi looked at Tsunade in confusion. Don't worry about him. Orochimaru has always been like this. Alas, in fact, I should have expected it. You always act like a little adult, and you must be in tune with Orochimaru. Tsunade looked at the direction where Orochimaru disappeared in a daze, but the next moment it turned into a bright smile. Although that guy is very cold, he is also very trustworthy. Naoki must follow him and practice well. Hi-yi. Can you make another sweet and sour pork? It's morning now. That one is too greasy. No problem, make one. Okay, little Naoki. Don't rub against me. Two figures met outside Naoki's house. Orochimaru, you have to treat Naoki well. He is Tsunade's younger brother. Don't mess with him. Otherwise I won't let you go. Jiraiya, who turned into a meteor, appeared in front of Orochimaru and said to him solemnly, then why don't you fight for it yourself? Jiraiya was embarrassed. I haven't taught any disciples either. Besides, Naoki is that kind of genius ninja. I'm afraid I can't teach him well. Orochimaru's snake eyes looked at Jiraiya quietly. If you don't try anything, you will naturally get nothing. Although we all know that Naoki will definitely choose me. We are the same kind of people. Jiraiya rubbed his head a little tiredly after hearing this. Yes, this should be a test or an assessment of Naoki by the teacher. It's really a headache. You guys think too much. After hearing this, Orochimaru was a little disdainful and licked his lips or chin with his narrow tongue. If you continue like this, you will be further and further away from the position of Hokage. When he heard that it involved Hokage, Jiraiya's second year soul instantly burned up. Impossible. Just watch. I will become Hokage soon. Are you cursing the teacher? Orochimaru, I want to fight you one-on-one. Before the sun rose the next day, Naoki came to the Hokage rock early. After all, Orochimaru did not tell him the time clearly. But what surprised Naoki was that Orochimaru was already on the Hokage rock. He looked at Naoki quietly. Snakes hate light and love darkness. They disgust most people. Rope Tree, are you ready? Are you sure you want to be my disciple? Rope Tree looked at the rising sun and looked at Orochimaru firmly. There must be such beings in the world. Their existence is not to make people afraid of the night, but to protect the light. Orochimaru stopped asking questions after hearing this. The two stood on the Hokage rock together, enjoying the sunlight falling on their shoulders. 10,000 words tomorrow. If you can't do it, let Rope Tree do a striptease. Chapter 12 Senju vs Uchiha. Since becoming his apprentice, Naoki began to go out early and come back late. Even Tsunade began to complain that Naoki was not at home all day. But Naoki was particularly happy about this change. Orochimaru was also promoted to a Jonin because of the last mission. He had some privileges and directly allocated a piece of land in the Forest of Death to teach Naoki. Orochimaru is indeed a man known as the Cold Man. Except for a little shock when he first saw the wood escape period, he always had a cold face. Orochimaru also fought with Naoki many times and roughly tested Naoki's ability. Your chakra amount, recovery ability, and physique are all monsters among ninjas of the same level. It is difficult to evaluate you with the judgment standards of ordinary ninjas. You should be able to fight against ordinary Chunin now, and your strength can completely pass the Chunin exam. Naoki did not think there was anything to be proud of or praised. After all, there will be many such monsters in Konoha in the next few decades. And Orochimaru obviously did not mean to praise Naoki, as if he was reading out the experimental data coldly. Naoshi, what do you think training is? Orochimaru asked a very general question, and Naoshi's answer was very simple. Becoming stronger. Orochimaru did not agree or refute. I applied for training outside the village. You can come with me. You will not grow into a soaring eagle in the greenhouse. Okay. Naoshi agreed very readily. In the past, he was afraid to leave the village alone for the sake of his own life, but with Orochimaru accompanying him, it was a different story. After all, it was not a war period. Orochimaru handed Naruto a document, which was a leave application from the ninja school, approved directly by the third generation, and asked Naruto to take it to school. Naruto gladly accepted the order. After all, he was always absent from school. Although it was not a big deal, there was no guarantee that someone would gossip about him. Brother, Senju Naoki is here. A pair of scarlet Sharingan suddenly opened in the darkness. Are you finally willing to come out? The Hokage has let him out in just over a month. Are they so confident? The darkness faded, and it was Uchiha Masakazu. He and Uchiha Teiji are the Uchiha clan members who care the most about Senju Naoki besides the clan leader. The Hokage's attitude is very clear, that is, to support Senju Naoki to fight against us Uchiha, but they are not fools. The current Senju Naoki, even if he has been practicing since his mother's womb, I'm afraid he still can't catch up with Fugaku, right? Then brother, why is the Hokage? Uchiha Masakazu thought for a moment. The first possibility is to leave Fugaku for Senju Naoki as a whetstone. Now Senju Naoki is just a 4-year-old kid. Even if he can't beat Fugaku, it is very normal. As long as he can survive a few rounds at the hands of Fugaku, with his Senju surname, he will naturally gain a very high reputation. After all, we Uchiha are veritable villains in the eyes of other people in Konoha. He and Tsunade and the others have returned. It is impossible for them to kill Senju Naoki. Naturally, there is no need to worry about Senju Naoki's safety. Uchiha Teiji gritted his teeth and said, brother, doesn't that mean that I'm the only loser this time? Don't worry, there is a second possibility. Uchiha Masakazu leisurely lit a cigarette. That means the Hokage and the others are sure that the current Senju Naoki is really capable of fighting Fugaku. Then the final loser will not be you, but our entire Uchiha clan. The Sharingan in Uchiha Teiji's eyes turned quickly. Impossible. Who knows, the third Hokage is not an easy person to deal with. No matter what the result is, have you done everything I told you to do? Uchiha Teiji made a gesture of getting it done. Don't worry, it's done. But what is it? Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Have you dealt with the people? Dealt with? Someone will find the bodies of those thieves in a few days. Uchiha Masakazu's face was hidden in the smoke, making it difficult to see through. Naoki-kun. Kobayashi Asami saw Naoki, whom she hadn't seen for a long time, and waved to him happily. Naoki looked at Kobayashi Asami stiffly. Damn. I can see me from such a distance? Are you the illegitimate daughter of the Hyuga clan? For a moment, the whole school began to stir, and everyone crowded to look at Naoki. Just as some people said, the Uchiha clan seemed to be the villain of Konoha, and Naoki, who dared to slap the Uchiha in the face, naturally became a hero among children. Not to mention the glory brought by the surname Senju. Naoki lowered his head and quickly walked through the crowd, came to the teacher's office, and handed the leave note to Teacher Yamanaka. Teacher Yamanaka still had that complicated expression on his face. After receiving the leave note, he looked at Naoki. Naoki, a genius like you is really different from ordinary children. Naoki looked at Teacher Yamanaka in front of him. Although they didn't spend much time together, he could feel the kindness in the teacher's heart, which was very similar to Iruka. Is this perhaps the legendary will of fire? Naoki didn't look into Teacher Yamanaka's eyes again, but looked out the window. Teacher, everyone is unique, and everyone can control their own destiny. It's just that in the world of ninjas, because of the distinction between the strong and the weak, the law of the jungle appears even more prevalent. But I always believe that the great brilliance of human nature is not different because of the amount of chakra he has. The one who really decides all this is yourself. Doing every simple thing well is not simple, and doing every ordinary thing well is extraordinary. Yamanaka heard the comfort from Noace, and touched Noace's head. Ha 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 ha, that's right. So Noace, you have to work hard. Maybe I will really become a teacher who teaches a Hokage. After saying goodbye to Teacher Yamanaka, Noace walked out of the building. Noace obviously felt something was unusual. The campus that was bustling with people just now was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. In the distance, a person walked out slowly. Uchiha Fugaku. At this time, Fugaku was wearing a high-collared combat uniform and carrying a long and narrow sword behind him. Naoki frowned. He had not expected Uchiha Fugaku's arrival. He originally thought that the third generation should help him stop the Uchiha clan, but Fugaku's appearance at this time told him that it was obviously not the case. Thinking of Orochimaru asking him to come back to school specially, and today's particularly easy training task, Naoki couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. After all, he was still someone else's pawn. Naoki figured out the reason in an instant. He looked at Uchiha Fugaku with disgust, but found that the other party also looked at him with a helpless look. We are just pawns of those big men. Finally, Uchiha Fugaku walked in front of Naoki, holding a letter of challenge respectfully in his hand. Junior brother Naoki. No need to say. Naoki interrupted Uchiha Fugaku. For the first time, he felt a little disgusted with the third generation. What will you get if you defeat me? Naoki stared straight into Uchiha Fugaku's eyes. Uchiha Fugaku didn't expect Naoki to be so straightforward. He looked at the trees around him, and Rope Tree understood instantly. Have you set up a battlefield here long ago? Not only Uchiha people, right? Anbu and even rude people are here too. Rope Tree looked around. After a moment of silence, Rope Tree took the letter of challenge, and the paper shredded instantly. Uchiha Fugaku jumped back a distance, and pressed his hand back on the handle of the knife. Since Junior Rope Tree has accepted the letter of challenge, let's discuss it here. Rope Tree took out a kunai from the knife bag, and held it across his chest. Come on, I'm in a bad mood now. I hope you can play with me. The two looked at each other for a few seconds, and the next moment, as if springs were installed on the soles of their feet, they slammed into each other fiercely. Dang. The sound of metal clashing. Rope Tree and Fugaku's faces were almost touching. You shouldn't attack Uchiha. Rope Tree looked into Fugaku's eyes. Just as you have no choice, so do I. The two quickly jumped away again. Uchiha Fugaku approached again, with amazing knife power, and Rope Tree had to defend himself for a while. However, Naoki is now almost half the height of Uchiha Fugaku, and his size advantage also means that Uchiha Fugaku has to swing his sword a little further if he wants to hit him. Finally, Naoki used a kunai to block Fugaku's sword. I lost in swordsmanship. Yeah. Fugaku said without any sadness or joy, but when I was your age, I was not as good as you. I can see that your swordsmanship is not systematic. You must have practiced it yourself. Well, I will swing it 10,000 times a day until my arm can no longer be lifted. Uchiha Fugaku looked at Naoki with a strange look in his eyes. I believe you 10,000 times. You can't finish it, even if you don't eat. Of course, Naoki said this nonsense, but it's not bad to tease Fugaku. After all, both of them understand that their battle at this time is more of a performance than a battle. The two of them stopped at the same time in tacit understanding. Fire escape, great fireball technique. Fugaku's seal making speed is amazing. In just a moment, a huge fireball hit Naoki. This move again. Don't you Uchiha have any other ninjutsu? As he spoke, Naoki also dodged the great fireball. Fugaku explained calmly, the great fireball technique consumes little energy and has great power, so it is naturally the first choice of the Uchiha clan. The practice of ninjutsu has never been based on fancy techniques. Naoki also laughed. I think the same as you on this point. For ninjutsu, it is enough to kill people. Water style, water break wave. A huge water ball flew towards Fugaku. Water style, water clone technique. While Fugaku was resisting the water style, Naoki immediately began to form seals and summoned a water clone. Fugaku saw the water clone summoned by Naoki and threw out two shurikens directly. Dang. The two Naoki blocked the shurikens at the same time. Fire style, Phoenix fire technique. Fugaku jumped high into the air and flames hit Naoki like a machine gun. The water clone was soon smashed into a pool of water because it could not dodge. Water style, water dragon bullet technique. Behind Fugaku, a column of water shot up into the sky and a huge dragon head roared towards Fugaku. Fire style, dragon fire technique. Fugaku reacted very quickly, twisting his body in the air and quickly forming seals to release the ninjutsu. The two ninjutsu met and collided in the air, turning into a large amount of water vapor, and a gorgeous rainbow soon rose under the sunlight. Just now you summoned two water clones at the same time. Fugaku did not look behind him, but stared at the corner of the wall. Haha, you found me. Rope tree walked out from behind the wall, and the rope tree behind Fugaku also turned into a pool of water and disappeared. I say, the warm-up can be over. I have something to do tomorrow, so I have to go home early today. Fugaku nodded and closed his eyes. The next moment, two Magatama Sharingan appeared in his eye sockets. You are very strong and talented, but you are nothing in front of the power of the Uchiha clan. Rope tree looked at Fugaku speechlessly. Hey, you can just say this to others. My last name is Senju. Have you forgotten who defeated your ancestor Madara? Ha, how ridiculous. The Uchiha clan members hiding in the dark sneered. What Rope Tree didn't know was that the Uchiha clan never believed that the first generation was stronger than Madara. Although Madara was defeated by the first generation and died in the Battle of the Valley of the End, didn't the first generation go to see the Six Paths Sage soon? So in their eyes, Madara and the first generation are actually the same. This is also a reason for the Uchiha's arrogance or self-deception. Otherwise, if the first generation lived a few more years after the Battle of the Valley of the End, the Uchiha would not be so arrogant. I'm going to attack. Fugaku didn't respond to Rope Tree's words, but rushed up directly. Rope Tree directly felt Fugaku's violent attack, and his speed and insight were completely different from before. Rope Tree parried with some difficulty, but he was not giving up. That's it? That's it? Rope Tree didn't notice that Fugaku's face was flushed unnaturally at this time. Hearing Rope Tree's ridicule, he was like an angry lion and attacked more brutally. Now Fugaku basically hit Rope Tree 3 times before Rope Tree could return one punch. If it weren't for his physique, Rope Tree would never be able to hold on. Damn it. Rope Tree's brain was working fast. Looking at Fugaku's eyes gradually reddening, he also felt something was wrong. Fugaku was very calm just now, but after opening the Sharingan, he became more and more uncontrollable. Damn. Sharingan has this function? I haven't heard of it. Rope Tree blocked Fugaku's fist with difficulty, but the next moment, a pair of feet wearing clogs had already stepped on Rope Tree's chest. Rope Tree was like a kite with a broken string, spitting blood and flying backwards. At this time, Fugaku was like a beast. He pulled out his sword and stabbed directly at the place where Rope Tree fell. Would release. Wood ingot wall. Several branches instantly stretched out from the ground, forming a wooden chrysalis that wrapped around Rope Tree. Fugaku's sword was stuck in the wooden chrysalis, but the hardwood prevented the sword from penetrating even a little. Would release. At this moment, countless people around were shocked. On a tree, a silver-haired man wearing a rabbit mask tightly grasped his sword, and his breath began to become disordered. Tsukumo, what's wrong? I'm sorry, sir. The silver-haired man called Tsukumo lowered his head, but a hint of fighting spirit rose in his eyes. Would release. Fugaku's eyes regained a hint of clarity. You actually awakened. Would release. Rope Tree also jumped out of the wooden chrysalis and looked at Fugaku coldly. You want to kill me? Fugaku's face suddenly changed. No. There's someone. Fugaku suddenly screamed in pain, and his eyes gradually became fierce. Fire style. Phoenix fire technique. Wood style. Wood wall technique. The fierce flames hit the wooden wall and disappeared without a trace. It was more than twice as strong as the water style just now. Wood style. Tree binding and strangling. Vine-like branches quickly stretched out from the ground and wrapped around Uchiha Fugaku. Fugaku retreated quickly, and the branches also quickly extended towards Fugaku. Fire style. Phoenix fire technique. Fireballs collided with branches, but the branches smashed the fireballs without any suspense. Fire style. Fire dragon flame bomb. Fugaku finally used a more advanced fire style ninjutsu, which made the front end of the branches stretched out by the wood style become charred and stop chasing. Rope Tree was constantly panting. Tree binding and strangling was a castrated version of tree binding and eternal burial, but it was also a technique that consumed a lot of chakra. At this time, Rope Tree's chakra was almost exhausted. Ninjutsu, summoning technique. Rope Tree bit his finger, and a slug the size of a vehicle appeared, leaning against Rope Tree, to help Rope Tree recover chakra. Fugaku, who was a little embarrassed by the vines, was also panting at this time. After seeing Rope Tree summon the slug, Fugaku also summoned his own summon beast, which was a handsome eagle with blue feathers more than 4 meters long. Damn, it's a flying summon beast. Rope Tree was a little dumbfounded. When there was no flying ability, a summon beast that could fly would really add too much to the strength of a ninja. Of course, if Rope Tree could summon a bigger slug, he would naturally not be afraid of Fugaku's summoned beast, but with Rope Tree's current strength, the summoned slug was only this big. Fugaku stood on the eagle and swooped down at Rope Tree, and Rope Tree could only dodge the eagle's claws in a tumbling posture. The eagle adjusted its posture in the air and soon swooped over again. Shadow clone technique. Damn it. Rope Tree watched Fugaku make a seal, and the eagle under him turned into two, blocking Rope Tree's movement and attacking. Rope Tree was in no hurry to dodge, so he had to turn around. There was a tearing sound, and Rope Tree only felt a burning pain on his back. Screech. The eagle in the sky was obviously very proud of his success, and he neighed happily and continued to dive down. Damn. Flathead beast. Rope Tree hated secretly and endured the severe pain in his back. Rope Tree began to make seals. Fugaku, you force me to do it. Would release. Tree realm descends. What? Fugaku quickly controlled the eagle to fly high in the sky. As an Uchiha, he was very familiar with this move. But when he flew high in the sky, he found that the ground was still bare. Goodbye. Earth release. Diving in the earth. Rope Tree naturally didn't know about the tree realm descends, and the seals just now were all for this escape ninjutsu he mastered. Rope Tree burrowed into the ground, and Fugaku, who was just focused on flying upwards, naturally had no time to observe Rope Tree's whereabouts. He actually escaped. Rope Tree's choice made many people frown, and it was obviously against the fighting spirit in their opinion. But Rope Tree didn't care. What a bullshit Bushido, I'm a ninja. As long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. Fugaku is obviously an enemy that he can't beat, even if he bursts into life. Is he an idiot to let others beat him? Moreover, Rope Tree knew that this was just a play from the beginning, and it was just a play. It was not a real life and death duel. Moreover, Fugaku, who seemed to be seriously injured and hovering in the sky, realized that he was fooled. He seemed to have lost his mind and kept bombarding the land below. Enough. The empty space that was empty just now was suddenly filled with people. Chapter 13 Angry Tsunade. The leader of the group on the open ground was naturally Uchiha. He looked at Fugaku, who was still in the air, and the three red magatama in his eyes kept turning. Fugaku looked at his father's eyes, and the madness in his eyes disappeared immediately. He immediately summoned the eagle back and looked at Uchiha nervously. Father, you retreat first. Uchiha asked Fugaku to stand behind him and looked at the people in front of him. The leader was a ninja with an animal mask. How about giving up? Uchiha nodded, but this time we won. Really? The masked ninja looked at Fugaku, who was hiding behind. Retreat. The masked ninja took the lead in retreating, and the Uchiha clan also quickly evacuated the scene. Hiss. It hurts. Sister, be gentle. Don't move. Tsunade looked at the bloody back of Rope Tree, and her hands couldn't help shaking. A ball of green chakra gathered in Tsunade's hand, and was continuously transmitted to Rope Tree's body surface. Is it that Uchiha Fugaku who beat you up like this? Naoki cried out again. Yes, but we have to fight this. There's nothing we can do about it. Got it. Tsunade's voice was particularly cold, and Naoki didn't know what to say. After a while, Tsunade helped Naoki apply medicine and bandage it. Naoki, you should rest at home. I'll go out for a while. Sister, this matter is more complicated, so don't get involved. Tsunade didn't look back, just waved behind her and went out. Well, I hope my sister's reaction is also what the third generation and the others expected. Otherwise something might happen. At this moment, a figure jumped in from the window. Who? Naoki jumped up instantly and threw a kunai. Injured? The kunai pierced the wall, and Naoki looked closely and found that it was Orochimaru. Ahaha, teacher, don't worry, it's okay. You know my physique. I will be full of energy tomorrow morning. Orochimaru's snake eyes were a little dim, and he stood aside and didn't speak. Naoki couldn't stand this weird atmosphere and broke the silence first. Teacher, you don't need to blame yourself. Besides, the third Hei asked you to tell me to hand in the leave note because he wanted to tell me that you had no choice. From the perspective of the third Hokage, he actually protected his disciples and our master-disciple bond. He is sure that, if I want to hate someone now, I will hate him later. The third Hokage is really a contradictory person. Orochimaru walked to the bed and sat next to Naoki. But you and I are really just pawns, aren't we? It's just because we are not strong enough. Naoki looked into Orochimaru's eyes calmly. Not only us, even the third Hokage is not strong enough, so he keeps balancing openly and secretly. If he has the strength of the first Hokage, he can easily suppress all troubles. And the third Hokage is a disciple of the second Hokage, so he must be deeply influenced by the second Hokage, and his style of doing things is inevitably similar. Orochimaru's eyes finally regained some spirit. Maybe you are right, Naoki. Only by becoming a powerful ninja can you truly control your own destiny. Or, the destiny of others. Looking at Orochimaru at this moment, Naoki suddenly understood why Orochimaru tore his face with the third Hokage later. How can a tyrant tolerate the control of others? Moreover, this kind of control mixed with the heavy shackles of master and apprentice. Once broken, all emotions will turn into a word of hatred. For details, please see Maudi and Mao Yun. Have a good rest. We will set off early tomorrow morning. If you use wood release, there will be a lot of voices opposing your going out for training. Rope Tree was not worried. This should be the price paid by the third generation, and it can be regarded as compensation for Orochimaru and Rope Tree. Otherwise, Rope Tree really wanted to despise the third generation for free. Orochimaru came and went without a trace, and left immediately, rushing to the next place. This is the Uchiha clan's land. Those who come in stop. Boom. The person who spoke was directly knocked away. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. The Uchiha clan's land seemed to explode. In an instant, countless ninjas began to gather, and children and women quickly hid underground. Tsunade. Are you crazy? An Uchiha clan member saw the person coming, and it was Tsunade with golden hair. Dare to hurt my brother, I will smash you Uchiha today. Before the Uchiha clan's senior ninja arrived, Tsunade was completely a little kid with one punch, and the Uchiha fled in panic. Asshole. Stop it. The Uchiha clan's Jonin finally arrived, looking at the tragic scene in front of him, and looking at Tsunade angrily. Tsunade, you are the Hokage's disciple after all. You actually bully the weak. Is that what the Hokage taught you? Tsunade said disdainfully. I bully the weak. Then isn't it bullying for you Uchiha Fugaku to duel with my brother? You Uchiha are really shameless to fight a 4-year-old child at the age of 12. You might as well let that old man Uchiha go and fight with Naoki, a bunch of double standard dogs. The Uchiha who came over was not easy to talk to, but just stepped forward and trembled together with Tsunade. Soon, more and more Uchiha clan members arrived, and 10 Jonin surrounded Tsunade. Swish. A shuriken cut Tsunade's arm, but Tsunade was unmoved, and her right arm wrapped around the throat of an Uchiha, enduring the severe pain, and locking it tightly. And another Uchiha saw the opportunity, and was about to stab Tsunade's lower back with a knife. Ninjutsu, chaotic lion hair technique. Several strands of white hair instantly entangled the sneak attacking Uchiha. The others looked back, and saw that it was Myabakuzen's lascivious man, the Toad Sage. After Jiraiya helped Tsunade out of the siege, Tsunade also quickly jumped out of the encirclement. Why are you here? Is this my business? The two stood back to back, and Tsunade asked Jiraiya dissatisfiedly. Jiraiya looked at the increasing number of Uchiha clan members in front of him, and smiled bitterly. Don't make trouble, now is not the time to be willful. Humph. I can deal with this bunch of bastards without your help. Tsunade was still arrogant, but her hands began to cooperate with Jiraiya. Although the two had fought together for many years, the Uchiha side was not a weakling. 2 fists could not beat 4 hands, and soon fell into a disadvantage again. Shadow Snake Hand. Orochimaru. You have no conscience. You come now. Orochimaru ignored Jiraiya who was screaming non-stop, and just joined the battle, and stood with the two, as expected of a disciple of the Hokage. Uchiha looked at the 3 people in the chaos, and gave a voice of praise. But it's just a low-end bloodline after all. Except for Tsunade, Orochimaru and Jiraiya were all civilian ninjas, so Uchiha naturally looked down on the 2 of them, and even took Tsunade with him. Maybe in his eyes, only Rope Tree, who had awakened would release, was worthy of the surname Senju, which was as famous as Uchiha. But the fast should end. Fire release, dragon flame singing. Tsunade and the other two who were fighting instantly felt the danger coming, and quickly dodged, only to find that it was Uchiha. As the patriarch of the Uchiha clan and the captain of the Konoha guard, Uchiha's strength is undoubtedly a cage-level strongman, the kind of strongman who truly stands at the top of the current ninja world. Tsunade and the others were also facing a great enemy. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya. In that case, Jiraiya nodded solemnly. That's the only way. The last person to speak was Orochimaru with a hoarse voice. Ninjutsu, summoning technique. The three summoned their own summon beasts at the same time. Manka, Slug, Bunter, Sancho. The Uchiha clan members looked at the three monsters in shock. It's not like they haven't seen large summon beasts before, but the visual impact of three huge monsters appearing at the same time is not so easy to suppress. The future three ninjas of Konoha, reunited. Uchiha was a little afraid to act rashly. After all, this is the clanland of the Uchiha clan. Fighting with such a huge monster will inevitably cause damage to the building. At this time, several figures appeared on the roof nearby. Teacher, Hokage-sama. The breeze blew the hem of the third Hokage's divine robe. He looked straight at Uchiha and took the lead in attacking. Hiya, you're going too far. Uchiha looked at the third Hokage's face without any fluctuation in his eyes. Sir Hokage Sandame, regarding the matter of Naoki, he was the first to attack the disciples of our Uchiha clan, and now, Tsunade comes to our clan territory and makes a scene without asking any questions. This is against the rules. At this time, Uchiha has only one identity, the head of the Uchiha family. The Sandame took out a crystal ball, which showed the scene of Naoki being provoked by three Uchiha in the classroom more than a month ago. And when Hiya saw the crystal ball, his face changed. He is not stupid. He is using this incident to pave the way for Fugaku. Looking at the crystal ball taken out by the Sandame, it proves that the Sandame has been paying attention to Naoki for a long time. The person in charge is confused, and the bystander is clear. Uchiha instantly understood that the situation he was playing had long been known to the Sandame, but the Sandame still accompanied him to play the trick. And his needs have been met. So what does the third Hokage want? Seeing that Uchiha said nothing, the third generation walked up to Tsunade and the other two and said, "This is a village after all. Your summoning beasts are so huge, so collect them first." Unexpectedly, Tsunade got angry and said, "Teacher, the Uchiha clan must pay the price, otherwise I will not leave today." Jiraiya and Orochimaru did not speak, but they all stood quietly, and they had already stated their positions. The third generation did not expect Tsunade to be so stubborn and refute him in public, which made him feel a little tricky. Princess Tsunade. Uchiha took the opportunity to talk to him. "We are deeply sorry for the damage your brother has suffered. Don't worry, we will send the best medicinal materials to help him recover as soon as possible. At the same time, the Uchiha clan will send gifts to apologize." The third generation frowned even more tightly and cursed him as an old fox. At this time, the third generation was obviously trying to achieve something, and Tsunade's refusal to give in made Uchiha immediately discover the turning point. As long as Tsunade was willing to reveal it, the third generation's goal would definitely not be achieved, and he would get less than what he got in the overdue period. Unexpectedly, Tsunade directly refused. "No need. Don't you Uchiha like to bully the weak? Let Uchiha Fugaku come out and take my punch, and we'll be even." Although it was just one punch, everyone saw Tsunade's strange strength just now. If Fugaku took this, he would definitely die on the spot. Impossible. "Father, I don't know when Fugaku has arrived at the scene. Who asked you to come here?" Uchiha looked at Fugaku nervously and scolded. "Father, everyone has their own actions, and I was wrong today." After saying that, he jumped down and stood in front of Tsunade. "I don't know how badly Junior Naoki is injured. Please apologize to him for me. Lord Tsunade, please do it." "Asshole." Uchiha rushed out, but was blocked by a long stick. "Sarutobi, get out of the way." It was the third generation Tsurumo, and at this time, Uchiha's eyes were already red, with bloodshot eyes. Brother Jiraiya, don't worry, Tsunade's attack is not severe, why don't we go to another place to talk? Although Uchiha was anxious, he still understood what the third generation meant, not to mention that he was still a member of Konoha after all. If he really attacked the third generation, the consequences would be disastrous. Sarutobi, what do you want? The third generation smiled slightly and ran away. Uchiha looked at Fugaku worriedly and finally gritted his teeth and followed Sarutobi's pace. You little brat finally has some responsibility. Tsunade looked down at Fugaku. Just one punch, if you block it, we'll write it off. Fugaku nodded, and the double grooves in his eye sockets began to spin rapidly. Here it comes. So fast. This was Fugaku's last thought, because after that, he would just get away with it. With Fugaku's current strength, he obviously couldn't see Tsunade's movements clearly. In just a moment, he saw a fist as big as a sandbag hit his nose fiercely. Young clan leader. Many Uchiha clan members quickly ran towards Fugaku, and more people looked at Tsunade fiercely. He's not dead, because I want my brother to defeat him personally. Tsunade looked at Fugaku, who was knocked unconscious by her punch, and had blood all over his face. This punch is just to tell you that, if you want to challenge us, you are welcome at any time, but why do you want to hit a child? Many Uchiha heard this and were speechless, and only a few people snorted in dissatisfaction. At this time, the third generation and Jiraiya also came back again. Jiraiya immediately ran to Fugaku's side and confirmed Fugaku's situation. He looked at Tsunade angrily, but when he thought of the conversation with the Sandaime just now, he could only suppress his anger helplessly. The Sandaime walked over slowly and patted Tsunade on the shoulder. Let's go. Teacher, I will give you an explanation. Tsunade gave up, and the ninjas of the Hokage also disappeared. Clan leader. They are bullying too much. Shut up. Uchiha looked at the Uchiha clan member who had just interrupted. Carrying Fugaku on his back, Jiraiya gave a cold order. Clean up here. I don't want to see any traces of fighting tomorrow morning. Hokage's office. The Sandaime sat on the chair, and the future Sannin lined up one by one. I did allow the fight between Naoki and Uchiha Fugaku, but I didn't expect Naoki to be injured. I just sent someone to check, and found that someone had drugged Uchiha Fugaku. It was a drug that made people confused and extremely irritable. Otherwise, once Uchiha Fugaku was awake, he would not have caused Naoki to be injured. Tsunade also had an indescribable emotion towards the teacher in front of her, perhaps more of disappointment. Teacher, I will not allow anyone to hurt Naoki, not even by accident. I don't want this to happen again. Tsunade looked at the third generation with determination. Even if Naoki understands you, I won't. If he gets hurt again, because of this kind of internal fighting in the village, I will never forgive the village. The third generation looked at Tsunade with a wry smile. Is it possible that in your eyes, the village that your grandfather built with his life is not as important as your brother? Yes, that's right. Tsunade still did not hesitate. I understand. The third generation picked up the pipe and took a deep puff. Nonchi will go out with Orochimaru for training tomorrow. He won't be stuck in this vortex anymore. Tsunade, you have to believe in Orochimaru. Tsunade looked at Orochimaru's snake eyes. Orochimaru, I want a promise from you. Orochimaru's cold and hoarse voice also sounded. Before I die, I will not let Ropposhu die. Okay, I believe you. Tsunade instantly gave unconditional trust to Orochimaru, which made the third generation a little embarrassed, and even a little embarrassed. Jiraiya suddenly started to act weird at this time, and put his arm around Orochimaru's shoulder in a wretched manner. Isn't this solved? By the way, Orochimaru hasn't celebrated your promotion to a Jonin yet. Let's go for a drink together. The third generation also stood up. Yes, I haven't had dinner with the three of you for a long time. Let's go. I'll treat you to a barbecue. No need. I'm leaving tomorrow, and there are still things that are not prepared. Tsunade and Orochimaru directly rejected the invitation and turned away. The third generation put down his pipe helplessly and looked at the endless darkness outside the Hokage's office. Orochimaru, please take care of Rope Tree, please. Tsunade bowed 90 degrees to Orochimaru for the first time, begging him sincerely. You don't need to tell me that. Rope Tree is my disciple after all. Orochimaru looked at Tsunade and suddenly asked, Tsunade, will you be used willingly? No. What if it's for Oak Tree? Tsunade fell into silence. And Orochimaru sneered, so, what does the bond bring us? This is love. Orochimaru, there are always some things in this world that cannot be explained. After a short silence, Tsunade looked at Orochimaru's face with her green eyes. There are always some people in this world that you can stand on his side regardless of right or wrong, without cause and effect, without logic. Love? Orochimaru muttered to himself. 10,000 words. Finished. Rope Tree doesn't have to strip anymore. Chapter 14 Farewell. Sister is awesome. Sister is awesome. Sister is awesome. Naoki, who was lying on the bed, was listening to Tsunade's passionate rush into the Uchiha clan's territory and killing everyone, and even beat up that bastard Fugaku. Naoki was cheering like crazy. Humph. I told you that your sister is awesome. Tsunade was like a proud rooster, holding her head high, chest puffed out, maybe not puffed out, accepting Naoki's flattery without blushing or beating her heart. Are you leaving tomorrow? Yeah. Naoki was a little depressed. He looked at Tsunade and suddenly realized that maybe Tsunade had gone to his world forever. Smelly boy, you used to wait for me at home, but now I wait for you at home. Tsunade said, untying the chain around her neck. This is passed down from my grandfather. I hope it can protect you on my behalf. Naoki looked at the emerald green necklace and carefully touched its dazzling patterns. Now that I've put it on, I won't take it off. Bo. Naoki was stunned for a few seconds before he suddenly reacted. Hey. What did you do? Why did you kiss me suddenly? I'm not clean anymore. You're looking for death, you little bastard. No. Hiruzen. Absolutely not. In an office in the Hokage building, Danzo was roaring hysterically. Naoki has awakened would release now. Do I need to say more about the role of would release on the battlefield? Once he is discovered by other villagers, it will definitely be a huge, low-level mistake on our part. The Sandaime was obviously a little surprised to see his old friend so manic. Danzo, this is not a time of war, and because of what happened with the Uchiha clan, it's really unsafe for Oak Tree to continue staying in the village. Besides, you know how strong Orochimaru is. He is more than capable of protecting Oak Tree. Don't worry too much. But the third generation was very decisive this time. No need to say more. Let's just say it. Danzo, compared to Oak Tree, I want to know how the little girl from the Uzumaki clan is doing. Danzo's face was gloomy. Uzumaki Kushina? Don't worry, she is absolutely safe now. Danzo secretly hated that he had always coveted the power of the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan. The Uchiha clan was there, and they couldn't run away, but Oak Tree was the only one in the Senju clan who had awakened would release. The research on the first generation cells must be accelerated. What made him most dissatisfied was that the third generation obviously knew that Oak Tree had awakened would release, but he was completely unaware of it, let alone what kind of deal the third generation had reached with the Uchiha clan this time. This ignorance brought Danzo the most direct lack of security. Sarutobi, leave this kind of dark matter to me. I'm the darkness of Konoha. I'm the root of Konoha. Jiraiya, you want to go out too? Orochimaru looked at his companion in surprise. Yeah. Jiraiya picked up the wine bottle and took a big sip. The day after Naoki became your disciple, I received a call from Mayaboki Mountain. Jiraiya's eyes were extremely bright at this time. The Toad Sage predicted that I would become the master of the Child of Prophecy. In the future, there will be someone who will save the ninja world, and I will be his master. Then you won't be Hokage? Jiraiya froze. Not really, it's mainly because I think that old man, people like you may be more suitable. Me. Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya suspiciously. Yeah, maybe it's because you have more ideas. You can't be a Hokage just by having the will of fire. Orochimaru, you are a companion I recognize. Keep going. Jiraiya, who was drunk, wanted to hug Orochimaru again, but was ruthlessly avoided by Orochimaru. Don't impose your will on others. Burp. Jiraiya burped loudly. I know. You have to take good care of Naoki too. Yeah. Ha 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 ha. The next day, Naoki carried a backpack as tall as himself, while Orochimaru was still doing his own thing with empty hands. Sister, I'm leaving. Naoki patted the necklace on his chest and waved goodbye to Tsunade. Tsunade also opened her hands to respond to Naoki. When Naoki and Orochimaru turned into two black dots, Tsunade suddenly remembered something. Is my passbook still with Naoki? After Naoki walked out of the gate of Konoha, he greedily breathed in the air around him. This is the feeling of freedom. Orochimaru heard Naoki's sigh, but did not say anything, but his pace obviously slowed down, allowing Naoki to enjoy the happiness of suddenly walking out of the village. Teacher, where are we going? The land of rain. Oh. Naoki didn't ask why, but just followed Orochimaru's footsteps quietly. Along the way, Orochimaru didn't teach Naoki too much, but just explained some simple life skills. But we can find a place as open as possible to camp, so that we can observe the surroundings well, and at the same time we can set up more traps, to protect our own safety as much as possible. Would release. 4 pillars family technique. Orochimaru looked at the 3-story baby that appeared in front of him with a black line. It's really a convenient ninjutsu. In the next few days, Orochimaru finally began to teach Naoki ninjutsu. Naoki also discovered the difference between Orochimaru's teaching his disciples and Jiraiya. Compared with Jiraiya's stupid method of teaching students in accordance with their aptitude, Orochimaru's teaching method is obviously more suitable for geniuses. He directly threw out a large number of scrolls and asked Naoki to learn by himself and ask him if he didn't understand. The current Orochimaru is not the Orochimaru who later pursued the Sharingan and immortality, but the Orochimaru who is determined to learn all ninjutsu. So now Orochimaru's ninjutsu inventory is amazing. Rope Tree's eyes turned green when he saw a large number of ninjutsu scrolls. However, Rope Tree also knew that he didn't need to really learn so many ninjutsu now. Most ninjutsu can be learned as long as they have been seen and recognized. There is no need to be very proficient. So in the following time, Rope Tree only selected a few ninjutsu that are most suitable for him to practice. The first one is one of the plugins in the Naruto world, the multiple shadow clone technique, which is completely a practice accelerator. Although he doesn't have Naruto's perverted Chakten, his physique is not inferior to Naruto at all, so he should be able to use it. The second one is Orochimaru's signature ninjutsu Orochimaru style substitution technique, which is the ninjutsu of I Spit Me, I Spit Sword. It doesn't require hand seals and consumes little chakra. It can be called a magical skill. The third one is the defensive ninjutsu, the triple Rashomon technique. As one of the few ninjutsu in the ninja world that can block the tailed beast Jade, its defensive power does not need to be boasted too much, not to mention that even the first generation has used this ninjutsu, which shows how powerful this ninjutsu is. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Practice. On the way, Rope Tree basically worked hard to practice these 3 ninjutsu. Orochimaru didn't say anything when he saw Rope Tree's choice. After all, everyone has their own aspirations. But when he saw Rope Tree practicing shedding skin, why did Orochimaru always couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth? Rope Tree is indeed not the kind of wall hanger like Naruto. After he learned the shadow clone, he began to practice with the shadow clone, but he can only maintain 3 shadow clones at the same time. It's not that there are no more shadow clones, but after the training, the shadow clone will feed back the feelings to the main body. The first time Rope Tree played it safe and only summoned 10 shadow clones for practice. The price was that Rope Tree's legs were weak for a day after the shadow clone returned. He had no choice but to not travel that day, and Rope Tree's physical fitness far exceeds that of other ninjas. He can only achieve this effect, let alone others, so Rope Tree seriously suspects that this is Naruto's unique golden finger. When Orochimaru saw Rope Tree's way of practice, he just marveled at Rope Tree's imagination and didn't say anything else. After all, Orochimaru is a wise ninja, which means he must concentrate on everything he does. Any distraction may lead to adverse consequences. Not everyone has the ability to do 2 things at once. If there are too many shadow clones, the attention will be more and more scattered. Not to mention the low efficiency, it is likely to cause mental disorders if it continues for a long time. So it is really a miracle that Naruto did not turn evil. Maybe the graves of the seniors in Konoha have smoked for him. Or, parents' sacrifices to heaven may really be boundless magic power. Rope Tree summed it up. The shadow clone technique is not as easy to use as imagined. Practice ninjutsu. Unless you just practice one ninjutsu and practice it at a full-like proficiency, it is completely thankless to practice multiple ninjutsu at the same time. It may be better to practice seriously than to work hard for a long time. Not to mention the huge amount of chakra consumed by practicing ninjutsu. Not everyone can make hundreds of balls at a time. As for practicing physical skills, the pain brought by each clone is absolutely touching. That is completely overdrawing the body to practice. Noace already has a very power-consuming wood release, so there is no need to create burdens for yourself when you have nothing to do. Noace could not help but smile bitterly. Sure enough, people in the ninja world are not stupid. What Naruto can find can definitely be found by others, but this method is only suitable for him. However, Noace still decided to practice this ninjutsu well. After all, he can use it as a power bank when he practices senjutsu in the future. Otherwise, who can guarantee whether Noace's future sage mode will reach the level of the first generation? Especially after feeling the differences between people brought by the shadow clone, Noace is increasingly unsure whether his future would release and sage mode can be on par with the first generation. After all, the cheats in this world seem to recognize their masters. Instead of being dumbfounded at that time, it is better to learn from Naruto's ready-made method and practice a few power banks for backup. And Orochimaru looked calm all the way and basically didn't speak except answering Noace's questions. But Noace knew that this was because Orochimaru had been secretly monitoring the surroundings, so he had no mind to do anything else. This kind of early warning of the surrounding situation, unless there is a bloodline limit of the eye technique type, can only rely on the perception of the ninja. Rope Tree obviously fails in this aspect of perception, so he can only trouble Orochimaru. The farther the two walked, the more chaotic the scene in front of them became. Now they are almost at the border, and Rope Tree has seen residual blood and burned villages more than once, and this is still in the interior of the Land of Fire. But now is not a time of war. On this day, Rope Tree and Orochimaru came to a village to replenish supplies, but the villagers always looked at the two with a vigilant and even hostile look. Teacher Rope Tree sensed the danger from the eyes of the villagers and planned to ask Orochimaru to leave. It's okay, Rope Tree, you go and negotiate with the villagers. Rope Tree did not enter the village, but just stood at the door of the village and shouted loudly, everyone. My teacher and I passed by here and want to get some food and water. We can buy it with money. The people in the village remained silent and did not make any movements, but their eyes were still full of vigilance. Let them in. An old voice came from the village, and then several adult men reluctantly gave way. And this time, Naoki saw that the owner of the voice was an old grandfather with a cane. Thank you, Grandpa. Naoki smiled brightly at the old grandfather, not ashamed of being cute. The little baby is so cute. The old man touched Naoki's head kindly, but became sad the next moment. If my grandson was still alive, he would be as old as you. Naoki felt bad when he heard it. Obviously the old man's grandson had encountered an accident. In the ninja world, a place full of dangers, not all villages have strong combat power like Konoha to protect the villagers. There are more villages where ordinary people gather, and they have almost no power to resist when disaster strikes. Village chief. Don't worry. I will definitely call Naruto back. A villager with thick eyebrows behind the old man looked at the old man with a firm look. Alas. The village chief sighed. Let's get through the difficulties in front of us first. Difficulties? Rope Tree looked at the pale and skinny villagers around him and asked, Grandpa, what happened here? Nothing, it's still those wandering ninjas. The villager with thick eyebrows said it directly. Tanagawa. The village chief scolded the man named Tanagawa. Tanagawa was obviously not convinced and shouted, it was. Those wandering ninjas are worse than beasts. They have looted many villages around. Who knows if we will be the next one? Tanagawa. Stop talking. A man walked out from behind Tanagawa with narrow eyes, looking at Tanagawa coldly. Everyone is ready. Don't say discouraging words to dampen everyone's fighting spirit. What do you mean by ready? Are you going to die with a hoe? We are worse than that. Okay. The guests are still here. Stop arguing. Tanagawa. Enichi. The village chief interrupted the quarrel between the two and looked at them unhappily. Then he took Rope Tree's hand and said, "Call your elders in too. The sun is about to set. You might as well stay here." Huh. This. Rope Tree turned his head to look at Orochimaru, who was following behind him, only to see Orochimaru nodded imperceptibly. "Okay. Sorry to bother you. Please take care of me." The old village chief smiled happily when he saw that the two were willing to stay. Chapter 16. The old village chief. After the meal, Naoki and Orochimaru were taken to a room by the old village chief to rest. The room looked very shabby, with few usable furniture, and the only light in the room was from an oil lamp. "Teacher, I feel something is wrong." Naoki approached Orochimaru and looked outside the house vigilantly. There are no women and children in the whole village. They are obviously hidden by the villagers, or simply moved out. That's very strange. Since they have time to deal with women and children, they naturally have time to hide themselves. But why don't they choose to leave? Orochimaru's mouth curled up a little. Yes, why? Naoki felt a little uneasy tonight, but thinking of Orochimaru by his side, the uneasy feeling in his heart subsided a little, and at the same time, his hands moved faster. "Naoki, are you afraid of death?" Orochimaru asked this question out of the blue, and the hoarse voice of the snake uncle made the highly nervous Naoki's scalp numb. "Of course I'm afraid of death. Who doesn't fear death, Master Orochimaru? Is that so?" Orochimaru looked thoughtfully at Rope Tree, who had set traps around the house. "Why set fewer traps? Why are there detonating tags? Won't this hurt the villagers by mistake? Ha 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 ha. Laughter is the best medicine to cover up embarrassment. After all, as long as you are not embarrassed at this time, the other party must be embarrassed." Orochimaru really didn't say anything else, but just looked out the window with his chin slightly pulled from the side. Rope Tree is of course afraid of death. How many geniuses have been useless before they have grown up? I'm a living example. Since I have traveled through time and space to become Rope Tree, it would be a great loss if I experienced another unclear death. Here it comes. A little white snake climbed onto Orochimaru's shoulder, and Orochimaru suddenly spoke. Brothers. Come on." There were many people gathered at the entrance of the village. All of them looked strange, as if they were all men who wanted to become the king of bandits. "Enemy attack. The bandits are coming." The villagers reacted quickly, and they lit up the fire bars one by one. Everyone came to the entrance of the village quickly with weapons. "Hand over the women and food. We will withdraw immediately." A short man with a wretched appearance, a mustache, and armor on his body shouted outside. "No. It's really the mole Sankyo. It is said that the mole Sankyo can use an ninjutsu to turn the earth upside down. And he is notoriously cruel. Even if you hand over your things, you will still be killed by him. Don't let him in. Everyone protect our village. Hi-yi." The men in the village were mobilizing morale, and Sankyo outside the village saw that the people in the village not only did not surrender, but also organized a counterattack, which immediately made him very angry. "Charge. Grab their women. Seize their property. Charge." The people under Sankyo were all crooked, and it must be said that it was not easy for him to find these people. However, these guys with strange shapes were all ordinary people. Facing the villagers who shared the same hatred and enemies, they could not gain the upper hand for a while, and the two sides were in a tug of war. At this time, there was a person hanging in front of Rope Tree and Orochimaru, who was the old village chief. The reason why it was called hanging was that a white snake as thick as an arm was wrapped around the beam of the house and the neck of the old village chief, almost suffocating him. "Ahem. You two, please show mercy. Ahem. I have something to say. Ahem." The old village chief's face turned purple, and Orochimaru was obviously not a kind person, so naturally he would not respect the elderly and love the young. "Teacher, why don't you put him down? He may really have something to say." In the end, it was Rope Tree who pleaded for mercy, and Orochimaru ordered the white snake to put the old village chief down. "Ahem. After being put down, the old village chief kept coughing and at the same time greedily breathed in big gulps of air, but his eyes were already full of horror at this time. After all, ordinary people may still be afraid of snakes, right? Or was it because he was hung up? After the old village chief calmed down, he realized that Orochimaru was not easy to mess with, so he quickly spoke. I knew you two were ninjas, so I wanted to keep you two here. Please help our village for our pity. Now Naoki wanted to hold his head and exclaim. There were not many people who could stand and lie without feeling any pain when they were almost strangled to death by Orochimaru. Naoki didn't bother Orochimaru and kicked the old village chief down. You old man, I advise you to tell the truth. We moved in the afternoon and the wandering ninja came in the evening. Do you think we will treat this as a coincidence? Also, your village's hostility towards outsiders can be seen by anyone. God knows what happened here. Naoki then pulled out a kunai and pressed it against the old village chief's chin. If you still don't tell the truth, I will really kill you. Naoki, who had never killed anyone before, was threatening people without hesitation. The two people who seemed to be grandfather and grandson this afternoon actually changed so much in the evening. The old village chief no longer concealed his feelings. He looked at the kunai in Shengshu's hand and made a hoarse sound in his throat. Hehehe. Two ninjas. But they are the best tributes. The evil god will definitely like them. Evil god. Shengshu heard this familiar yet unfamiliar word, and before he had time to think about it, he was pushed away by a huge force. The old village chief had completely changed at this time. He fell to the ground, with disheveled hair and half of his skinny body exposed. If the old village chief before was Gandalf, he was completely a golem at this time. His eyes also became evil, and he kept saying in his mouth, kill you. The evil god will be very happy. Kill you. The evil god will be very happy. The old village chief got on all fours, looking like a livestock, and leaped towards Shengshu with his tongue sticking out. So fast. Shengshu barely twisted his waist to avoid this fatal blow. Damn. I didn't realize that this old guy was a powerful ninja. The speed just now was definitely much faster than that of an ordinary chunin. And Rope Tree finally remembered the memory of the evil god in Naruto. But is this evil god the evil god mentioned by Hidden in the immortal duo of Akatsuki organization later? However, just in case, Rope Tree still shouted, teacher, be careful, we can't let the other party get our blood. At this time, Orochimaru saw his disciple being attacked and quickly blocked Rope Tree behind him. Get out quickly, I'll deal with him. Rope Tree nodded. Apart from anything else, the speed just now could make him powerless to fight back. Staying here would only be a burden to Orochimaru. La 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 la. Double happiness. The collection is over 200. Thank you all for your support. And this book has finally come to the station, and it can be signed. Thank you all. Chapter 17. Evil God Cult. Rope Tree ran out of the house and saw the villagers fighting with the bandits outside. Rope Tree didn't care about Orochimaru behind him anymore, but quickly joined the battle in front of him. The old village chief and the gang outside were obviously in the same group, and Rope Tree decided to deal with the enemies outside first. Multiple shadow clone technique. 10 rope trees lined up one by one, rushed to the front line from behind the villagers, and began to attack the enemy. This group of people looked fierce, but their actual strength was very low. Rope Tree almost saw them, and the opponents were harvested like leeks. The villagers obviously didn't expect Rope Tree to be so powerful, but they couldn't help cheering when they saw the enemies were knocked down. And Senkyo, who was hiding behind the crowd, also noticed Rope Tree. There is actually a ninja. This is a target this time, but it's just a little brat. Senkyo walked out arrogantly, a little kid who hasn't even grown all his hair. Go find your mother to drink milk. Ha 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 ha. Catch the thief first. Rope Tree saw that Senkyo actually dared to stand up and give his head, and his mouth was slightly open. Would release, tree binding and strangling. Arm thick branches quickly wrapped around Senkyo. What the hell is this? Senkyo shouted in panic. But his movements were not agile at all, and he was directly locked by the branches and could not move. What made Senkyo even more frightened was that he felt his chakra being sucked away bit by the branches that entangled him. When the thieves under Senkyo saw that their boss was captured, no one came up to rescue the boss, and they all ran back. Shangshu and the villagers also surrounded them. Shangshu looked at Senkyo calmly. Tell me, what is your relationship with that old man? I advise you to think it over before you speak. I was just deceived, and I'm in a bad mood. Senkyo was almost defeated by Shangshu at the first sight. At this time, he had no resistance in his heart, and he quickly told the whole story like pouring beans. Please spare our lives, sir. We are all followers of the evil god cult, but I'm just a peripheral member. That old guy is the elder of the evil god cult. Everything I did was instructed by him. Let me go. What did you do? Usually, this elder kills prestigious people in the village, then turns into his appearance and tricks the villagers into hiding the women and children first. In fact, they are the first to sacrifice to the evil god. After that, he lets me pretend to be a thief and kill all the men in the village. The reason for this, the elder said, is that although this is a border of several countries, we still have to act carefully to avoid being discovered by the major ninja villages, so we have been cautious all the time. It is cautious enough. This kind of unauthorized sect is like a rat in the gutter, boycotted by several major ninja villages, so it can only hide in such corners to develop its power. Compared to Rope Tree, the surrounding villagers were instantly upset. The thick-browed villager Tanagor grabbed Senkyo's collar fiercely with red eyes. What did you say? The women and children have been killed by you? Yes, the so-called safe place you sent the women and children to the day before yesterday was actually the altar of our evil god cult. We sacrificed them all to the evil god yesterday. Tanagor was already in tears at this time, and he fell to the ground. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You must be lying to me. You must. Rope Tree was somewhat silent. Senkyo was obviously very cherishing his life, and his belief in the evil god was not firm, so he probably said the truth. What's more, Senkyo's sacrifice, Rope Tree was about 70% sure that this evil god cult was the evil god cult that Feeden joined later. And the evil god cult was all crazy, and those women and children were likely to have died. How long have you been doing this? How many villages have you massacred? Senkyo was obviously a little afraid to say this question, and his eyes were a little evasive. 7 or 7. Rope Tree took a breath of cold air. Even if there are fewer people in a village in the ninja world, there are still hundreds of people. Obviously, thousands of villagers have died in the hands of this group of people. Rope Tree no longer wanted to talk to Senkyo. With a thought, the branches wrapped around Senkyo suddenly contracted and strangled Senkyo's limbs. He is left to you. Amid Senkyo's wailing, Rope Tree pointed at Senkyo and said to the villagers around him. Then Rope Tree picked up Tanagor, who was still sitting on the ground and crying. Take me to the place you just mentioned. Troublesome opponent. The most shameless ninja in the ninja world finally met his lifelong enemy. Orochimaru's dark golden snake eyes looked at the monster-like opponent opposite him, and his tongue stuck out from time to lick his chin. The old guy's strength is actually just the level of a special jonin. This level of opponent is completely a meal for Orochimaru, but the weird thing is that every time he defeats the opponent will still stand up as if nothing happened. Orochimaru had just cut the opponent in half, but the opponent still recovered quickly. This obviously cannot be explained by a strong physique. Orochimaru looked at the other party. I'm suddenly interested in you. The old village chief had already changed beyond recognition. His body was an abnormal black color, and tattoos like white bones and skulls appeared on his body. Hehehe. How can you ignorant mortals understand the greatness of the evil god? Why don't you surrender? God. Orochimaru licked his chin disdainfully. Then tell me, your god, will it die? The old village chief's claws were very sharp, and he always went straight to the vital point. However, Orochimaru also remembered the reminder given to him by Naoki before he left, and did not let the old village chief get his blood. Although he didn't know how Naoki knew all this, Orochimaru had a strange premonition that letting the other party get his blood might really happen. After kicking the old village chief away, Orochimaru's pupils trembled a few times, and it was obvious that he had already known what was going on. The old village chief rushed over again and bit Orochimaru's neck hard, while the other side of Orochimaru's neck suddenly split open and Orochimaru's head emerged again. Swish. A sword suddenly spit out from Orochimaru's mouth and separated the head of the old village chief who was still biting on his neck. 5-element seal. Bright chakra flashed on Orochimaru's 5 fingers, and he pressed hard on the broken part of the old village chief's body and neck. After that, a white snake jumped out and swallowed the old village chief's body in one gulp. Orochimaru held the old village chief's head. Although your ability is very strange, but the weak are the weak, not in terms of strength, but in terms of brains. Chapter 18, Evil God Altar. Under the guidance of Tanigawa, Shangshu came to a very hidden valley. It was only half an hour away from the village, but when Tanigawa came here, his spirit was more and more broken. As soon as Shangshu entered the valley, he could smell a strong smell of blood, and his heart sank. It seemed that his guess was right. The fate of those women and children might not be very good. Shangshu carefully lurked in the dense grass and walked towards the center of the valley little by little. Ugh. Shangshu finally came to the innermost part of the valley, but when he saw the scene in front of him, he only felt a big hand rubbing his stomach. The grass in the center of the valley had long been flattened, replaced by a huge stone seat, on which a huge triangle was drawn with blood. And next to this evil god altar, there were piles of corpses. Shangshu had watched a lot of heavy tasting plasma films in his previous life, and even because he had worked in a medical school, he had also seen respected cadaver teachers, but at this moment this scene still made him feel seriously unwell. It's time to go. This is obviously not something I can handle. Go back and report to the village with the teacher and let the villagers handle it. So many people died in the land of fire. The daimyo will definitely be furious. Konoha will definitely not stay out of this situation, so it will definitely intervene in this matter. Quietly retreat to the mouth of the valley. Tanigawa, let's go. Tanigawa, who was just settled by Ropetree at the mouth of the valley, has now fallen to the ground forever. Ropetree looked at the man behind Tanigawa, who was slowly wiping the blood off a knife. Why did you come here? Isn't it better to wait for the trial in the village? The man suddenly asked. Ropetree looked at his face. Your name is Uchiha. It seems that the evil god cult has planted more than one person in the village, and even Sanbashi doesn't know you exist. The man who came was Uchiha, who had a quarrel with Tanigawa yesterday. Actually, my name is Fujino. The face of Uchiha slowly changed and became another slightly soft face. Every village has a guy like Tanigawa who is not very obedient. He always says that he wants to accompany his wife and children, which makes everyone lose their fighting spirit and is very annoying. What do you think if everyone is like Tanigawa, who doesn't know how to protect their homes and is afraid of death? Fujino's face is softer than that of an average man, and his movements at this time are also feminine. Fujino put the long sword back into the scabbard. When I saw you yesterday, I guessed that you were not easy to mess with, so I asked Ono to stop, but he said that you were the best sacrifices, and if we sacrifice you to the evil god will definitely reward us with more powerful power. But Ono, he has always been stupid, very stupid, to plan things that are not under his control. Do you think there is anything stupider than this? Fujino looked at Naoki with narrow eyes. You just used wood release, right? It's a very old ninjutsu. It's really rare. So you must be a disciple of Konoha's high-ranking officials. Then the cold guy following you must be extremely powerful. Ono should have been defeated by now. What a pity. Ono is a guy who is not good at anything but always makes trouble. Even if he kills you, Konoha will find this place soon. Doesn't he know how much effort I spent to find such a safe place? As Fujino spoke, he began to become hysterical. That rubbish. He doesn't understand how powerful other ninja villages are. The reason why we use such a troublesome method to find sacrifices is to prevent the big ninja villages from noticing. But he is so stupid. Such a brainless guy. It's just garbage. Fujino became more and more angry, and his skin began to become abnormal and began to show a black luster. People like him. They are not worthy of serving the evil god. Rubbish. Just rubbish. Fujino suddenly drew his sword, and Naoki quickly took out his kunai to block it, but found that Fujino was attacking his back. Boom. A snake as thick as a bucket was cut in half, bleeding profusely, while a pale hand pried open the snake's mouth, and sticky things came out of it. Teacher. The person who came was Orochimaru. Fujino smiled. You are faster than I thought. Is it because Ono is too useless, or because you are too powerful? Orochimaru responded in a hoarse voice. I wonder if the Ono you are talking about is this guy? Orochimaru's throat suddenly bulged, and a human head spit out directly from his mouth. Damn. Rope Tree couldn't bear to watch it. This scene was too hot for the eyes. Why didn't he consider this kind of scene before he worshipped Orochimaru as his teacher? However, when he thought of Jiraiya, who was also a toad-spitting people, Rope Tree smiled bitterly. Is there no normal person among the powerful ninjas? Rope Tree found that the head spit out by Orochimaru was Ono's head, but he had closed his eyes and was obviously dead. Fortunately, the immortality of these people is obviously not as strong as that of Hidden Later. He is a man who can chat with you for 3 days and 3 nights, even if his head is cut off. Although I don't know what means Orochimaru used, it is a good thing to kill the opponent. Although Fujino was scolding Ono as a waste, the moment he really saw Ono's head, his whole momentum suddenly changed. You killed Ono? I want you to be buried with me. After muttering to himself, Fujino directly drew his sword and chopped at Orochimaru. Fujino's strength is obviously stronger than that of Ono, and he is definitely at the level of a Jonin, but he is still not good enough in front of the strange Orochimaru. Orochimaru's body softening is also a bug level physical skill in close combat. You can't hurt his body at all, but he can hit you at all kinds of weird angles. If you don't practice the hard fist to the level of Tsunade and K, ordinary physical ninjas will just be beaten in front of Orochimaru. After being knocked away by Orochimaru, Fujino got up from the ground in embarrassment and suddenly laughed. You are really strong. Great. No wonder Ono was obsessed with offering you to the evil god. He will be happy. Little ghost, do you know why I didn't kill you just now, but let you come here? Because here. Only here can you receive the glory of the evil god. A black light came out from the altar deep in the valley and shot directly into Fujino's body. The bloody smell here was even stronger than what Rope Tree smelled in the valley just now, and Fujino became neither human nor ghost. Rope Tree was also shocked to see Fujino like this. Immortal? At this time, Fujino's forehead suddenly grew horns like those of the Otsutsuki clan. Chapter 19 Master One Snake. At this time, Fujino looked like an Otsutsuki, but his whole body was black, and he looked weird and brutal. At this time, Orochimaru didn't know what an Otsutsuki was, but his face became very ugly. At this time, Fujino's chakra was growing by leaps and bounds, which was completely different from before. Naoki, go. Go? Where to go? Fujino looked at Orochimaru fiercely. Foolish mortal. Come and see the greatness of the evil god. At this time, the black light on Fujino's body actually went along his arm and wrapped around his sword, which made Naoki squint his eyes. Fujino's sword should be just an ordinary knife, not a ninja tool like Flying Swallow that can conduct chakra, and the black substance on his body can actually infect an ordinary long sword, which means that it is likely to be a higher level of power than chakra. Just when Naoki was analyzing Fujino's power, Orochimaru took the lead to wrap around Fujino. Fujino seemed to have lost his mind at this time, completely crazy and bloodthirsty, and every blow went straight to Orochimaru's vitals. Orochimaru was also calmly analyzing Fujino's attack method, but he was still helpless. Fujino's swordsmanship at this time was completely like a madman. He gave up defense and attacked Orochimaru desperately. His swordsmanship was sharp, and his recovery was extremely fast. His speed and strength were both terrifyingly powerful. Earth escape, earth flow river. Orochimaru took the time to complete the seal, and the hard ground instantly turned into a swamp. Fujino was trapped by the huge suction of the swamp, and used his hands and feet to struggle out of the swamp. Water escape, water show. Orochimaru used water escape to make the swamp on the ground larger. Rope tree. Orochimaru laughed loudly. Got it, teacher. Would escape tree bind and strangle. Branches stretched out from the swamp and instantly entangled Fujino, trying to pull him back to the swamp. You guys. It's really annoying. Fujino was already unable to move at this time, but his breath was still manic. You will never understand the greatness of the evil god. Fujino directly inserted the long sword into his abdomen, and then slashed it horizontally, and streams of black blood flowed out. The black blood seemed to have life, and it kept crawling out of Fujino's abdomen to the outside of the swamp, just like the villain in a foreign superhero movie. The black blood quickly crawled to a safe area and gradually gathered upwards, becoming the appearance of Fujino. The body of Fujino, trapped by countless branches and already disemboweled, now turned into a pool of blood, which quickly merged with the mud around it. What the hell? Is this a pirated ninjutsu of Orochimaru? Rope Tree looked at the brand new Fujino and cursed him inwardly as a monster. And Orochimaru was not surprised at Fujino's escape. The opponent was naturally not an opponent that could be easily solved. At this time, Orochimaru was trying to force out Fujino's information as much as possible, find Fujino's weakness, and then complete a one-shot kill. Wind escape, big breakthrough. Orochimaru jumped high, and a series of sharp blades flew towards Fujino from his mouth. Fujino also smashed the wind blades with his long sword. Can I catch the ninjutsu? Orochimaru gradually understood in his heart, and at this moment, Orochimaru saw Naoki running into the valley. Naoki, did you find the key to the matter? Naoki was just observing Fujino's every move silently, except for the black light flying in the valley. The valley did not change at all. However, when Fujino was struggling in the swamp, the direction he wanted to escape from was the entrance of the valley. There must be something in it. Maybe it was the source of Fujino's power. Fujino also found Naoki, who wanted to enter the valley, and shouted, "Stop that kid." Several figures rushed out of the valley in an instant, blocking Naoki's way. Is there anyone else? Naoki looked at the people in front of him. Obviously, they were all followers of the evil god cult. Ninjutsu, summoning technique. After a burst of smoke, a huge purple snake appeared. Hey, Orochimaru. Don't call me out so easily. It was the young man snake. Although Man Snake was a little smaller than later, he was not so arrogant and did not offer sacrifices at every turn. Man Snake, go help Rope Tree rush into the valley. Ah, what a troublesome guy. Man Snake did not bargain because he saw Fujino and felt the evil chakra on Fujino. Naturally, he did not want to go against Fujino. It seemed that it would be a good idea to go to Rope Tree to play with him. You bunch of stinky bugs. Here I come. Man Snake swam his huge body and directly crushed several followers. Hey, kid, you are Orochimaru's disciple. So annoying. You actually signed a contract with a slug. Disgusting rotten smell. Haha. You, a shabby snake, also said that others have a rotten smell. Rope Tree complained in his heart. But on the surface, Rope Tree still saluted Manch respectfully. Lord Manch, I'm really sorry to trouble you. Come up. That guy's chakra is very evil, 100 times more evil than the most evil chakra I have ever seen. I don't know what you are going to do. You'd better be quick. I'm afraid Orochimaru won't be able to hold on. Rope Tree was also shocked. Now he had to rely on Orochimaru. Once Orochimaru was defeated, his life would probably be over here. However, Rope Tree couldn't help but ask one more question. Lord Manch said that the chakra he saw before, was it the Nine Tails? Manch looked at Rope Tree with his cold snake eyes. You actually know the Nine Tails. But I'm not talking about the Nine Tails, but forget it. You won't understand, even if I tell you. Rope Tree also closed his mouth and came to Manch honestly. I have to say that large spiritual beasts are cool. No wonder Ban Leo likes to catch a nine-tailed beast for fun. Wanch basically rushed over all the way. The followers of the evil god cult were completely helpless against Wanch. Shangshu almost shouted 666 on Wanch's head. When he came to the evil god altar again, Shangshu saw the changes here. The corpses seemed to have been drained of moisture, and the bloody smell in the air was basically gone. It was just that the dark altar stone seat had turned into a charming blood red. Wanch saw the evil god altar and swept over with its tail, but the evil god altar burst out with brilliant blood light and shook Wanch's tail out fiercely. The huge reaction force directly pushed Wanch dozens of meters away, and Wanch also turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared after landing. Shangshu looked at the huge smoke and doubted his life. Wanch, you are so stupid. I asked you to do it? Good guy. What should I do if you leave? No wonder you were used as a lifeboat by Ursuzi. You are so stupid. It was useless to scold Wanch. Now Shangshu had to face this strange altar of the evil god alone. Chapter 20 Another Otsutsuki. Rope Tree looked at the altar, but was hesitant to do anything. To be honest, the 10,000 snakes were still somewhat useful. At least they proved that the evil god altar could not be demolished by force. In this case, Earth escape, Earth flow cut. The land around the evil god altar began to crack and soon formed a high platform. The bottom of the evil god altar was completely exposed to Rope Tree's eyes. Black bloodstains continued to extend downwards, and Rope Tree only separated the surrounding land by about 1 meter, and still could not see what was underneath. As a last resort, Rope Tree once again used the earth digging skill to move the surrounding land away by 1 meter. What is this? Rope Tree finally saw clearly what was under the altar. A finger-high, ancient and mottled bronze statue. The black bloodstains around it seemed to be the blood vessels of the statue, transporting nutrients to the statue, making the statue flash with a strange black light. The statue depicted a human with huge horns on his head, and the most important thing was that there was a huge Magatama Samsara between his eyes. Otsutsuki. Rope Tree completely confirmed the identity of the evil god. This is definitely the Otsutsuki clan. And it's not the castrated Otsutsuki on the moon, but the Otsutsuki of the same clan as the ancestor of Chakra, Kaguya Otsutsuki. Damn it. It's the Otsutsuki again. It can be said that the turmoil in the ninja world is caused by the Otsutsuki. Rope Tree has no good feelings towards this race that exists in the universe to plunder the vitality of the planet. But the most important thing at the moment is how to destroy this statue. Rope Tree summoned a shadow clone, but it was instantly destroyed by the black light on the statue. What should I do? Outside the valley, Fujino was still dragged by Orochimaru. But just when Rope Tree exposed the evil god statue in the valley, Fujino instantly began to run away. Blasphemy. That bastard is blaspheming the evil god. Orochimaru felt even more exhausted when facing the rampaging Fujino, but he still smiled and said, "Has Naoki found something? How sad. Power that does not belong to oneself is ultimately empty." Fujino slashed at Orochimaru with a knife. "You don't understand. You foolish mortal. I have already dedicated everything to the evil god. I'm with the evil god. We are immortal. And do you think that brat is qualified to touch that sacred object? Ha 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 ha. He will soon be sucked dry of blood by the evil god. Die in pain. Ha 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 ha. I really want to see your expression when you watch your disciple die. Will it still be this dead face? Hehehe." Orochimaru's face became colder and colder, and he still clung to Fujino tightly, not letting him leave. Naoki is not a ninja who dies so easily. He is very afraid of death. Achu. Naoki, who was studying the statue, suddenly sneezed. Did Tsunade miss me? Do we really have telepathy? Naoki imagined a scene in his mind where Tsunade never regretted her clothes becoming loose and became haggard for her. Finally, after trying many methods, Naoki was able to touch the bronze statue. It was wood release. Naoki summoned a wood clone and slowly placed his hand on the bronze statue. This time the statue did not resist and let Naoki hold it in his hand. The feeling transmitted back from the wood release clone was that the bronze statue was not as cold as metal, but was warm like the flesh. Naoki released the wood clone by himself and summoned a branch for safety, carefully wrapping it around the statue. Suddenly, Naoki's face changed drastically, and he directly cut off the connection between his chakra and the branch. Alas. A sigh, as if it came from the ancient times, quickly invaded Naoki's mind with a melodious and sad breath. Illusion. Naoki bit his tongue, and the crystal necklace on his chest also sent a burst of coolness, and Naoki was a little clear-headed. "My believer, what do you want to get by summoning me?" A voice came from the bronze statue. At this time, the bronze statue seemed to be alive, and its 3 eyes looked down at Rope Tree. "Ah, bah. You are just pretending to be a god all day long. You still call me a believer. Believe in your uncle. I'm your father. Isn't it just Otsutsuki? How many people have you deceived? You still want to deceive your father? Bah." Rope Tree was stimulated a lot today. Whether it was the misfortune of the women and children in the village, the stimulation of facing the mountain of corpses, or facing this evil god that suddenly appeared, Rope Tree's countless emotions suddenly emerged. In short, Rope Tree was a little collapsed at this time. And facing Rope Tree's scolding, the bronze statue was also a little confused and didn't know what to say for a while. Rope Tree almost sprayed out all the curses he knew, just like a torrent of river water. In the gap between them, the statue finally couldn't help but interrupt. Who are you? How do you know I'm Otsutsuki? Rope Tree chuckled. I know it. What's it to you? The statue was silent again. After a while, it said something nonsensical. We can cooperate. Cooperation? Cooperation. The statue said, since you know the Otsutsuki clan, you are qualified to talk to me. You provide me with blood and I can provide you with strength. Rope Tree looked at the statue suspiciously. What do you want blood for? Are you Otsutsuki Dracula? It seems that you really know someone from our Otsutsuki clan, but I don't quite know who this tribe member named Dracula is. My name is Shinryu. The statue of Shinryu looked at Rope Tree. Since you know the Otsutsuki clan, you should also know the purpose of our Otsutsuki clan, right? Purpose? You are the termites of the universe. You squeeze the planet dry day by day, just to eat a bite of fruit. Why don't you eat apples? Shinryu was silent again. You do know, but I'm not that kind of tribesman. After all, although the universe is vast, if we don't know how to control ourselves, the entire universe will sooner or later become a dead place, and then we Otsutsuki will naturally disappear. Yo-hoo? Is he an Otsutsuki who understands sustainable development? Come on, stop talking nonsense. Isn't your doctrine to make people kill people, and then give the followers immortality? Don't you just treat people as leaks? Shenyu was speechless again. Don't you care about the lives of those ants? Nonsense. Of course I care. I'm just talking about ants. Wait a minute. Rope Tree heard a hint of unusual meaning from Shenyu's mouth. Could it be that Shenyu regards himself as an equal to him? So why do you care about the lives of ants? Rope Tree touched his chin, and a malicious smirk appeared at the corner of his mouth. If that's really the case, then the control space is huge. Otsutsuki? I'll fool you into a big bucket of noodles. Chapter 21. Come to cheat. After thinking through this point, Rope Tree felt that he was a completely different person. At this moment, I'm a big boss. Rope Tree replied in a flat tone. Of course I will not pity those ants. They are simply crazy, fighting every day, endlessly, and very noisy. Shenyu on the opposite side praised twice in agreement. Yes, many natives do not understand the preciousness of peace and create killings, and I just did some insignificant things behind the scenes. So, I laid out various planets, and collected their blood as nutrients to improve myself. It's just following the will of heaven. Haha. However, Rope Tree's heart moved. So you mean that your clones are on many planets? Shenyu was silent for a while, and slowly said, yes, I have planted some consciousness in every Otsutsuki tribe member who goes to find a new planet. They will seduce the local natives, to have the will to kill, and then use blood to worship me. By the way, who are you? Shenyu suddenly thought of a key question. But Rope Tree changed the subject directly. No hurry. Is this the only clone you have? Shenyu was not stupid either, and said directly, we are now trading, so there must be a basis of trust. It seems to make sense. Rope Tree hesitated for a while, and told Shenyu his name. Kakarot? It is indeed a philosophical name. Rope Tree's eyes sparkled. That's right. My name is Kakarot. My tribe is called Saiyan. I have had contact with your Otsutsuki clan. Shenyu became more cautious when he heard that there was another tribe behind Rope Tree. Hello Kakarot, my original body is too far away from each planet. Even for me, there is only one will to come to your planet. I wonder if Mr. Kakarot is willing to reach an agreement with me? As long as you sacrifice as much blood as today every year in the future, I can give it to you. Stop. When Rope Tree heard that the other party still wanted blood, he refused. Otsutsuki Kamatsuki, you may not understand what happened. Now, you have entered my territory without permission. It seems that the Otsutsuki people of this planet came here to plant the fruit of the sacred tree thousands of years ago. She was killed by me at that time. That's why I hate you Otsutsuki clan so much. Now you keep deceiving my people. I haven't settled accounts with you yet. You actually want to talk to me about cooperation without any reason. Kamatsuki was a little confused for a moment. Is this the case? She tried hard to sense the distance between this consciousness and her body, but still got nothing. In her opinion, the power of this blood sacrifice was still too little. Kamatsuki didn't know whether what Rope Tree said was true or not, but now she only had a will in the ninja world and could do almost nothing. Shenyu didn't want to give up the resources on a planet easily, so he took a deep breath and said, I have already told you the details. I don't share the same philosophy with the Otsutsuki who planted the sacred tree, and I have no idea what they did. As for your losses, I will compensate you. Rope Tree was also in a playful mood at this time. He snorted coldly, compensation? What can you compensate me with? What can you give me now? The ability to be immortal? Sorry, go ask around in the universe. We Saiyans don't need this kind of boring ability at all. Shenyu's heart skipped a beat. Is there such a perverted race? But when he thought that the other party was also a race that could walk in the universe, it didn't seem strange that they had some special skills. The Magatama Samsara eye on the forehead of the Shenyu statue suddenly turned and soon turned into a bead the size of an apricot kernel. This is a withered seed of the sacred tree. Since you know Otsutsuki, you must also know the sacred tree. This seed is the carrier of my spiritual power. I can use it at any time. Okay. Got it. Bye. Rope Tree twisted the neck of the statue with lightning speed, grabbed the seed and fled madly. Shenyu was stunned for a long time, and there were 3 fatal questions in his mind. Who am I? Where am I? What am I going to do? After more than 10 breaths, Shenyu reacted and got angry. Kakarot. You are looking for death. The altar behind him emitted a dazzling bloodlight, and a shrill cry resounded through the sky. Teacher. Run. Run. Rope Tree's heart was beating wildly at this time. Seeing Orochimaru who was still entangled with Fujino, he hurriedly called out to him. Orochimaru trusted Rope Tree unconditionally at this time, and turned around, and ran without saying a word. Ha 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 ha. Do you feel the power of the evil god? You can't escape. Fujino arrogantly waved his sword. Become a sacrifice to the evil god. As soon as Rope Tree arrived beside Orochimaru, he heard the angry shout of Shenyu behind him, followed by a loud bang. Teacher. Use that trick. Okay. Ninjutsu. Triple Rashomon technique. Rope Tree and Orochimaru used the triple Rashomon technique at the same time, and 3 big and 3 small Rashomons appeared in front of the two. Haha. It's useless. You can't escape the judgment of the evil god. Fujino was still roaring, not feeling the beautiful scenery behind him at all. Just after Shenyu shouted angrily, the evil god's altar instantly broke into pieces, and a huge explosion occurred with it as a center. As if it was attacked by a nuclear bomb, the entire valley was instantly flattened, the earth was baked into crystals by the high temperature, and the air was compressed into a cannonball and scattered around, destroying everything around it recklessly. The shockwave of the explosion quickly rushed up from the valley, and the first creature to feel the power of the evil god's anger was naturally Fujino. Fujino was almost instantly slapped away, and then the shockwave rushed to the Rashomon. The 3 small Rashomon summoned by Rope Tree turned into ashes in an instant, and the Rashomon summoned by Orochimaru finally resisted for a moment. Of course, it was only a moment, and was also blown to pieces. At this time, looking from the sky, this place looked like it was hit by a meteorite, and a huge crater was formed. There was no sign of life in it, and everything returned to death. In a temple on a distant planet, a tall woman angrily threw the quilt beside her to the ground, and the blood inside was spilled all over the ground. Come here. Find out who are the tribesmen who have planted the sacred tree for nearly 1,000 years, and have not returned. And, go and find out about the Saiyan race for me. Yes. The woman's 3 eyes were twisted and vicious. Kakarot, how dare you play tricks on me? I will make you die without a complete corpse. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Sacred Tree Seed. The lush valley had now turned into a pothole-filled basin. Within a few miles, no traces of life could be found. Life is so unpredictable and unpredictable. Many things happen too suddenly. I hope everyone can live a peaceful life. The end of the book. Fuck you. A sound suddenly came from under the charred blocks that were not noticeable at all. Rope Tree coughed up blood and staggered out of the ground. The charred black was the skin of Rope Tree and Orochimaru. It turned out that when Rope Tree and Orochimaru realized that the power of the explosion was far beyond what Rashomon could block, they shed their skins without hesitation and used Earth Escape to escape underground. Even so, Rope Tree's ears were almost deafened by the huge shockwave. The huge tinnitus made him almost faint. Coupled with the severe pain in his body, he was almost sure that his internal organs must be injured. And Orochimaru also crawled out with a pale face. It was obvious that he was definitely not in good condition. Rope Tree endured the severe pain and used the psychic technique to summon 2 slugs. Only when he was receiving treatment did he have a chance to relax. The worst thing was that Rope Tree felt severe pain every time he breathed. It was very likely that his lungs were injured, which was a big problem. Teacher, don't talk for now. Your injuries are very serious. Although Orochimaru was not a professional medical ninja, he still saw that Rope Tree was in a very bad condition at the moment. Compared with Rope Tree, Orochimaru gradually recovered his ability to move under the treatment of the slugs. Orochimaru staggered to the side of Rope Tree and checked it, and he was relieved. There are no big wounds on the liver and spleen. It should be that there is a lot of bruises after the impact. Since you have no problem breathing, it means that the bronchus on the lungs is fine. It's just that the chest cavity may have been punctured. I will help you with the operation later. Orochimaru summoned a huge white snake, swallowed Rope Tree carefully, and disappeared on the spot. 1 month later, Rope Tree was wrapped in bandages, sitting in the house he built, leisurely drinking tea made from wild lilies picked on the roadside. Your physique is indeed very strong. If ordinary ninjas were injured like you, they might be useless. No, they might die directly. After Orochimaru checked Rope Tree's body, he calmly poured Rope Tree another glass of water. Thank you, teacher. Orochimaru waved his hand indifferently. The information has been sent back to the village, and soon someone will contact several other countries around to jointly clear out the remnants of the evil god cult. I see, teacher. Have you researched anything about that thing? Rope Tree was talking about the seed of the sacred tree. Rope Tree was also entangled, whether to tell Orochimaru or not. After all, even if this thing withered, it was definitely a treasure level, and it might be more valuable than the entire ninja world combined. Apart from anything else, it could bear the responsibility of an Otsutsuki to communicate with people without time intervals in such a vast universe, and even bear part of the power and will. This is very clear. Not everything is qualified to be such a signal station. After careful study, Rope Tree did not find anything. He could only feel that there seemed to be a huge amount of chakra lurking in the seed, but he could not awaken it no matter what. So Rope Tree finally decided to give the seed to Orochimaru. After all, in the entire ninja world, Orochimaru said that his scientific research level ranked first. Who dares to claim that they are second, third, or fourth? Orochimaru shook his head. I just found that there is an abnormally large, even terrifying chakra inside, but this chakra gives people a very strange feeling, a bit like dead. Orochimaru hummed. In theory, chakra is a kind of energy produced by cells in the body. As long as they die, chakra will dissipate, but the chakra in this thing gives people a feeling of death, but it is indeed chakra. Teacher, is it possible that this is not chakra, but another kind of energy? Rope Tree, what do you think? Teacher, have you heard of natural energy? Orochimaru's snake eyes suddenly became sharp, but then softened. Rope Tree, you actually know about natural energy. Did the slug sage tell you? Sure enough, at this time, Orochimaru already knew about the existence of immortals. Rope Tree did not deny it, but continued. To cultivate natural energy, you have to introduce it into your body, but once you can't control it well, you will turn into stone. At that time, although the person is dead, the natural energy will be preserved. Orochimaru pondered for a moment. It's possible. I'll do an experiment. Rope Tree called Orochimaru. Teacher, since you also know natural energy, why don't you practice the immortal mode? Not everyone is suitable for practicing immortal arts. There was a trace of reminiscence in Orochimaru's eyes. The so-called immortal mode is to merge with the natural energy around you. This requires keeping peace of mind. The simpler you are, the more powerful you will get. Rope Tree. People like us are not qualified to practice immortal arts. Rope Tree opened his mouth slightly, obviously not expecting it to be like this. Yes, Naruto, Jiraiya, and the first generation are all stupid and stubborn. Maybe only such people can succeed in cultivation? No. There is also the dream-making master. Rope Tree instantly thought of Kabuto Yakushi in the 4th Ninja World War. This guy's not pure, innocent, or innocent at all. Why did he succeed in his training? However, Kabuto Yakushi is not even in the basic form of life, so it is impossible for him to grab the guy's collar and interrogate him. However, Rope Tree also knows that what Orochimaru said is definitely wrong. Teacher, who told you this? Rope Tree looked at Orochimaru with some dissatisfaction. When did you not even try to do what you want to do? Isn't your ambition to learn all the ninjutsu in the world? At most, you can treat the Sage Mode as a more difficult ninjutsu. The teacher will not give up. Right. Orochimaru was stunned and recalled what the White Dragon Sage said to him that day. At that time, he could be said to be very frustrated, but he just felt that he was not qualified. But when he heard what Rope Tree said now, Orochimaru's eyes also turned cold. Yes. Who else is qualified to say that he can't do it except himself? What's more, not even trying is not the ninja way of Cold Lord Orochimaru. Thank you, Rope Tree. Rope Tree's eyes narrowed like a crescent moon. You're welcome. Imagine that there is an Orochimaru who can do Senjutsu in the future. What will this ninja world become like? Chapter 23 Master and Disciple. After talking with Naoki, Orochimaru seemed to have a habit of talking a lot. Naoki, actually, I already found out that the village chief was not right when we entered the village. But at that time, I just wanted you to experience more hardships. I didn't expect that you would be involved in this evil cult, and finally you became like this. What? Naoki looked at Orochimaru through the bandages speechlessly. I thought it was someone else's hidden skills that were too strong, but it turned out that someone sold out his teammates. Although Tsunade asked me to take care of you, since the 3rd Hokage asked me to bring you out, it is obvious that he wants to train you well. Didn't you realize that the 3rd Hokage is also deliberately intensifying the conflict between you and the Uchiha? The purpose of doing this is not to let you, or Tsunade, confront the Uchiha. To put it bluntly, you are not qualified. The only target of the 3rd Hokage is you. You may realize the importance of the surname Senju, but you know far from enough. This surname is the belief of Konoha. Wherever Konoha flies, there is flame burning. Especially the 3rd Hokage discovered that you cherish your life. For other ninjas, this cannot be said to be an advantage, but at least it is not a fault. Only you. You are carrying the surname Senju. You can't let others discover a trace of cowardice in you. The 3rd Hokage let you out this time for only one purpose: to understand responsibility and sacrifice. Naoki's face turned cold, and his eyes behind the bandage looked particularly gloomy. He had never thought that the 3rd Hokage would have this meaning. So, I don't even have the power to die myself? Orochimaru didn't answer Naoki, but asked back, if you were just an ordinary ninja, would you get the Hokage's special approval to leave the ninja school? If you were an ordinary ninja, would you practice so many ninjutsu? Everyone knows that the amount of chakra of a genin must reach the point where it can release A-level ninjutsu, but how many genins can obtain A-level ninjutsu in a ninja school? All this is just because your last name is Senju. Hard work. What a luxurious word. Naoki was silent, and at the same time he could hear Orochimaru's unwillingness. Teacher, what about you? Naoki looked at Orochimaru's profile. Half of his outline was already hidden in the darkness. The more you struggle, the more difficult it is. Some people in this world have accepted their fate, and some are playing dumb. But, teacher, will you? Orochimaru took out his Konoha forehead protector from behind, and wiped the Konoha logo on it with his pale fingers. Konoha is like a big cage. People inside want to get out, and people outside want to get in. Naoki, how do you see the world? Naoki took a long breath, and changed his posture to make himself more comfortable. I once learned a passage from a poet, saying that the world is not as good as we think, but it is not as bad as we think. Our fragility and strength are beyond our imagination. Sometimes a single word can make us burst into tears, but sometimes we grit our teeth and look back, and we have come a long way. So, teacher, I will not give up. Orochimaru fell silent again. Naoki, you really gave me a big surprise. Orochimaru's hoarse voice used to be full of gloomy feelings, but at this moment, it seemed as if the sun was shining through him into the world. The two of them, one big and one small, leaned against the window, watching the blue outside turn into a gorgeous sunset. At this time, the two of them recognized each other, confirmed the friendship between master and apprentice, and began to have a bond. Have a good rest, we will set off soon. The Land of Rain is located between several major countries, and there is a guy called Demigod in it. Maybe we can have a good look at him. Okay. Rope Tree's injury gradually began to improve, and Orochimaru was somewhat helpless with the seeds of the sacred tree, so he had to give them to Rope Tree for safekeeping. After a while, Rope Tree set fire to the wooden house, where he had lived for a long time, and set out on the road again with Orochimaru. The Land of Rain. This tiny country is well known in later generations. In addition to the current demigod Hanzo, it is more famous for being the base of the Akatsuki organization in the future. It rains in the Land of Rain for basically 3/4 of the year, which has created its developed drainage pipes. And drainage pipes have always been a place where dirt and filth are hidden. They are there, but they have become the darkness that no one in the world wants to face. And on the streets of the Rain Village, the core hinterland of the Land of Rain, two men wearing straw raincoats are walking. The two people were Rope Tree and Orochimaru, who came in a hurry. Rope Tree hated this damp feeling very much. His body was always wet. Moreover, in the later generations, all this rain was Nagato's rain tiger free art. Although the little guy Nagato was probably still playing in the mud with Yahiko and Konan, Rope Tree still felt very uncomfortable. How is the intelligence? Orochimaru obviously didn't care much about Rope Tree's feelings in this regard, but asked about the task he had just assigned to Rope Tree. Rope Tree pursed his lips. If it wasn't for the purpose of investigating intelligence, he wouldn't even dare to use chakra to avoid exposing his identity. Teacher, the defense of the Rain Village is not very strict, but I just saw a lot of rain ninjas, and they seem to have a different temperament. Also, because Hanzo of the Salamander helped the Rain Country end the situation of division, his status among civilians and ninjas is very high. And Hanzo of the Salamander seems to be a bit belligerent. Sometimes he even intercepts the caravans of several big countries, and then frames other countries. He is not a good person. Orochimaru nodded. Besides, there is one thing that Orochimaru knew without Rope Tree saying it. That is the strength of Hanzo of the Salamander. Even the combined 3 ninjas in the future Second Ninja World War are no match for Hanzo of the Salamander, let alone Orochimaru alone. Orochimaru suddenly looked at Rope Tree with interest. Just now you said that there are some differences in those rain ninjas, right? Well, very strange. It makes them look different and feel very powerful. Rope Tree told Orochimaru his feelings word by word. Orochimaru smiled grimly. The next moment, Rope Tree's hands and feet were instantly cold. He seemed to be placed in an endless dark space at this time, with only a bloodthirsty snake eye staring at him. I can't move. Under the pressure of the snake eye, Rope Tree couldn't even move a finger. And suddenly a white phosphorus snake emerged from the snake eye and bit Rope Tree's neck. No. Rope Tree quickly closed his eyes, but when he opened them again, he found himself still on that bustling street. Teacher, why did you suddenly use an illusion on me? Rope Tree looked at Orochimaru with dissatisfaction. Orochimaru just chuckled. That's not an illusion. That's just murderous intent. Chapter 24 Hunting List. Killing intent? Rope Tree looked at Orochimaru in confusion. Yes, this kind of thing is exactly what you said about the rain ninjas. It can only be understood, but not expressed in words. You will know it if you kill enough people. Oh how? Rope Tree looked at Orochimaru in shock. What do you want me to do? Rope Tree has always claimed to be a kind child. How could he do such an evil thing as killing people? This is simply insulting. The most important thing is, what kind of place is this? Rain Ninja Village. Not to mention, whether a red-haired boy with a reincarnation eye will appear for you to resist. Even if it is Hanzo, the salamander, he can instantly kill Rope Tree. Even a team of Chunin with strong combat capabilities can probably destroy Rope Tree's substance. And Orochimaru obviously didn't want to argue with Rope Tree, and took out a scroll from his sleeve. But when Rope Tree saw the mucus on the scroll, he knew where it came from, and instantly looked disgusted. Orochimaru opened the scroll, and there were actually portraits inside. What is this? Konoha's wanted list. Orochimaru pointed at one of the scarred men, and introduced him to Rope Tree. This man Orochimaru once planned to rob a group of Konoha's cargo transport convoys. There is reliable information that he is in Rain Village. None of them is a good person or a guy who caused losses to Konoha, and Rain Village is full of good and bad people. Your task is to get rid of at least 3 of them. Rope Tree's face was a little pale. Killing. In fact, I had prepared myself mentally a long time ago. After all, I'm not a strong man like Naruto. It is easier to eliminate the enemy physically, but when I really faced all this, I was a little at a loss. There is still an essential difference between humans and animals. Orochimaru seemed a little annoyed by Rope Tree's reaction. He stuffed the scroll into Rope Tree's arms and left without looking back. Meet here in 5 days. Rope Tree was still immersed in his own world. After hearing Orochimaru's words, he hurriedly looked up, but Orochimaru had already disappeared. What the hell? Rope Tree shook his head and sneaked into an empty room in the hotel. Rope Tree was just a child after all. If he stayed in the hotel alone, he would definitely leave a deep impression on people. He had no choice but to occupy this place first. Rope Tree tiptoed to take off the raincoat, and the chakra in his body shook, shaking out the rain on his body. The body was finally dry, and this feeling was comfortable. Rope Tree opened the scroll, carefully leaned against the window, and used the weak natural light to read the scroll. Rope Tree knew very well that this was an all-round assessment. It was obvious that Orochimaru directly brought Rope Tree to actual combat to let him grow, instead of honestly leveling up. There were about 70 people in the scroll. Rope Tree only flipped through it once, and had a general impression. The more than 70 people were indeed not good people. There were even a few suspected members of the evil god cult, and their hands were basically stained with the blood of innocent people. But in other words, these people were all desperate criminals with murders on their hands. Fortunately, Orochimaru did not go too far. The strength of these people was not too high. At least from the record, the strongest one was the scarred man, Orochimaru, who had fought with the Chunin of the Konoha transport convoy and killed 3 Chunin of Konoha. When Rope Tree saw this, he directly put Orochimaru in the must-kill target. To avenge his comrades, what else do he need to use? Rope Tree silently memorized the portraits of everyone in it and used the shadow clone to go out to find the target. But soon Rope Tree encountered the first setback. The enemy will not stand there and let you kill. Not to mention that the people in the portraits are all desperate criminals, and they are absolutely proficient in disguise. Maybe an old lady who walked by you is a thug with more than a dozen names. This is not just looking for a needle in a haystack, but looking for a needle in a haystack with your eyes closed. At this time, Rope Tree was extremely envious of the Hyuga gang of white-eyed people. With the white eyes, at least finding people is much more convenient. But Rope Tree also knew that complaining would not solve any problems, so he began to observe the actions of some rain ninjas silently. The first and second days were fruitless, but finally on the 3rd day, Shengshu got an extremely useful piece of information. A rain ninja actually gave a beggar a large sum of money, and not only that, the rain ninja was a little servile. You know, even in Konoha, the status of a ninja is much higher than that of a civilian, not to mention the Rain Ninja village, which has been at war for years. After Shengshu discovered this scene, he hurriedly followed the beggar quietly. The beggar seemed to be an ordinary person, without any chakra. He took the money carefully, and walked directly into a pipe. Shengshu carefully hung behind the beggar, and saw that the beggar was like a fish in water in the sewer pipe in the maze, and moved very quickly, as if he had come to his own home. After turning in the sewer pipe for 10 minutes, the beggar finally came to a dead end. The beggar skillfully groped on the wall, pressed a wall brick, and a crack suddenly opened on the wall that was originally a dead end. Secret door. After watching the beggar go in, Shengshu also began to feel around on the wall. He finally felt a bulge, grabbed it and pressed it, and the secret door on the wall really opened again. Shengshu sneaked in carefully, but was shocked by the scene in front of him. The world behind the wall is completely another world. A complete street appeared in front of Shengshu, and the bustling crowd was no less than the world above. The only difference was that the tourists here all looked ferocious. Shengshu rubbed his hands excitedly. He didn't expect that there was such a big black market under the Rain Village. That's right. It's the black market. This is why the Rain Village attracts countless escaped ninjas to gather here. Their stolen goods are constantly gathered here to exchange for the supplies they need or to whiten their own things. And all this, how could the shadow level ninja hands of the salamander not know? There must be some dark transactions that cannot be detailed, making this place such a special existence. This is simply a paradise for villains. But at the same time, everything here may be stained with blood. As for why I didn't hear about this later, Nagato guessed that they were probably killed by Nagato. After all, Nagato, who even controlled the rain and had a perverted control desire, would not allow these guys to wander around like mice under his nose. Nagato used the transformation technique to become a fat man weighing more than 300 pounds and squeezed into the crowd with great effort. I hope this place can bring me some surprises. Otherwise, if I fail to complete the task, I feel that Orochimaru might do something inappropriate to me. Chapter 25 Black Widow. The fat man that Shengshu transformed into did attract a lot of attention when he squeezed into the street, but most people knew that those who came here must not show their true faces. Shengshu pretended to stop in front of several shops, and finally, he saw a person who made his eyes light up. Light yellow long skirt, fluffy hair, black marks from not taking a shower for dozens of days, and body fragrance like old pickled cabbage. An old woman who looked like a landlady was sitting in a stall with a cigarette in her hand, watching the customers coming and going. The word intelligence was written in large letters on the stall, for fear that others would not know what she did. Shengshu shook his fat body and stopped in front of her. When the old woman saw that a customer had come, her face, which was still ferocious just now, instantly turned into a pleasant and happy face. Come on, do you want intelligence? I'm honest and fair here, and I have all kinds of information. I guarantee you will be satisfied. You can choose any kind of intelligence. The old woman's voice was like a drake, and people who heard it were all kinds of disgust, but Shengshu still walked into the store. When they saw Shengshu go in, the shop owners of several shops next to the old woman laughed maliciously. This old guy's business is really good now. When can we enjoy it in there? TSK. That fat guy is a newcomer at first glance. I'm afraid he will be squeezed dry. If you want to enjoy it, don't call me. This is a veritable den of money. Several people laughed a kind of obscene laughter that only male creatures can understand. Shengshu followed the old woman into the shop and was also shocked by the unique world inside. Although the door of the shop is narrow and small, the shop built through a section of sewer is a huge space. It is divided into several small grids, but it is not the kind of one-on-one, mysterious and low-key place for selling intelligence that Shengshu imagined. There is a curtain in front of each small grid. There are sounds behind the curtain, but they are all indescribable sounds. As a senior butterfly lover in his previous life, Shengshu could hear all kinds of butterflies flying in the air, colorful and lively. The old woman was used to it and handed Rope Tree a booklet. Find what you want inside, or la clearly marked with prices, guaranteed to satisfy you. Rope Tree opened the booklet and felt his blood pressure rise. The city knows how to play. The explicit illustrations inside made Rope Tree, a pure young boy from the village, lose control of his mind instantly. Damn. Is it so exciting? Rope Tree flipped through the booklet and silently said in his heart, I'm on a mission. I'm innocent. Just as Rope Tree was appreciating art, while investigating intelligence, he actually found a target. Not a target for that kind of thing, but a target in the scroll, given to him by Orochimaru. Black Widow. Black Widow is one of the few women on the wanted list, so Rope Tree remembers her more clearly, and it is definitely not because of her good looks that Rope Tree remembers her. That's her. Rope Tree pointed roughly at the artistic photo of Black Widow. Black Widow's strength is not strong. Judging from the intelligence, she should be at the level of a genin. She is good at spinning silk, just like a spider. According to intelligence, although Black Widow is not strong, she is good at a spider-type ninjutsu, just like Orochimaru's snake-type ninjutsu, and is very good at escaping, so she escapes repeatedly. When the old woman saw Rope Tree pointing at Black Widow, her face changed. This is another price. Why? Doesn't it say 100,000 yuan? I have plenty of money. Hurry up and let her come out to accompany me. Rope Tree naturally couldn't let others see that he came to find Black Widow on purpose and perfectly played the image of a willful guest. Rope Tree's loud voice also alarmed other guests. Who is it? Believe it or not, I will kill you. You bastard. Get out of here. Ah, bastard. In an instant, the hall became a noisy vegetable market. The old woman's face became even uglier. Go down, let me do it. A graceful woman in black gauze walked out affectionately. Beautiful. This is the first word that appeared in Rope Tree's mind. The real Black Widow is much more beautiful than the portrait, and it is different from the Korean semi-permanent beauty. Instead, it has a mature charm, with advanced sexiness that tugs at everyone's heartstrings. Every step Black Widow takes, a piece of Snow White sticks out from the black gauze, making every man's breath jump with her steps. Superb Black Widow quickly walked in front of Shengshu, smiled and stretched out her finger, gently pressing Shengshu's chest. Come on. Shengshu looked at the Black Widow opposite him, and there was some blankness in his mind. After all, he always lacked resistance to things that promote human development. Shengshu followed Black Widow stupidly to a small compartment in the deepest part. Omitted here. Cough cough. Nothing to omit. Once in the compartment, Black Widow's body was like an octopus wrapped around Shengshu's fat body at this time. Sir, how do you want to play? Black Widow's eyes were as charming as silk, constantly testing Shengshu's moral bottom line. Shengshu smiled obscenely. We'll play whatever you can do. What a joke. The guest is really a joker. Black Widow sat on Shengshu's thighs, and her hands kept drawing circles on Shengshu's body. Black Widow lowered her head, as if she wanted to do something unspeakable. Don't touch me, I don't have any money. Shengshu looked at Black Widow with a smile. No money? Black Widow's face was angry at first, but turned into horror in an instant. At this time, Shengshu was no longer the look that was just overwhelmed by the woman, but smiled and held a kunai against Black Widow's throat. Shengshu used his other hand to hold down the hand that Black Widow stretched to her waist. 3 hands. TSK. Body modification? You said you were pretty good looking before, but now you're ugly like a freak show. It turned out that Black Widow was groping Shengshu with 2 hands just now, but in fact there was another hand growing out from the armpit, secretly touching the wallet on Shengshu's waist. Would release, tree binding and strangling. Countless tentacles and branches grew out from the ground, tightly binding Black Widow's body. Rope Tree held a kunai and gestured at Black Widow's face. Don't be nervous, I'm really here to buy information. You're just a pleasant surprise. I ask you questions, and you answer them. Maybe you can save your life. Black Widow. Black Widow's body was locked by wood release, and when Rope Tree called her Black Widow, she understood instantly. Tears flashed in her beautiful eyes, and she looked at Rope Tree pitifully, making people love her. And, if you use illusion on me again, I will dig out your eyes. Do you understand? This time, Black Widow's eyes were no longer full of emotion. She just stared fiercely at Rope Tree holding the kunai. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.